what is it you always say whenever you get a video posting when you start? We're live.
We're live.
We're live.
Well, we should do that. Shit. Fucking Sean Bing, dude. I mean, congrats on the new EP. It sounds good.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. It was a awesome experience working on this once again, and coming out with another EP. And I'm glad everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, dude. It's got some sick riffs.
That's a lot of me. What I'm listening to, like that's a lot of Mastodon influence there. Like, but it's listening to like that and Gojira and then you guys and Sound Pilot. Like, I'm just absorbing all this heavy riffs, and I'm like, all right, I gotta throw my own in there.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks, man. I'm flattered. You draw inspiration from us at least.
Yeah, that's
cool
I've always
shit.
said that. Is it with you guys? Like when I first saw you guys play live, I looked at my guys. I'm like, okay, these guys, they're the shit. And so then I was like, okay. And I started like watching how you guys were playing. I'm like, we can do that. And so all of a sudden we come back to practice and I start calling these complicated riffs. The guys are looking at me. I'm like, sorry, it's all the Salesman. And I'm like, we can do stuff like that.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't always try to write hard riffs, but they just happen sometimes, you know, like.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. And you get all these good riffs and you're like, oh man, that fits perfectly in the song. Oh, that one does too. And then by the end of it, you're like, all right, this song's about 20 minutes long and it's got like about 15 really good riffs in it. And it works.
Yeah, that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to bust out those long ones. Rush was not afraid to do that. That's
my favorite band of all time, and that's where I kind of fell in the deep end of like prog rock and prog metal and kind of falling into that thing. But also, I love how concise, like they can write a long song that's very progressive and just intricate, but then they can write songs that are like 4 to 5 minutes to the point. They're still a little complex, but they're very memorable.
Yeah, they're the masters at writing prog in the 70s, and them and Yes, of course. But I mean, dude, their shorter songs are just as proggy and just as good. And a lot of people don't give their album Grace Under Pressure enough credit, but I fucking love that album.
When I was coming in, Kid Gloves was playing, and that is an absolutely that's a great song, yes. And and I was one of those as a purist, like when I discovered them, when it got to the synthy stuff, I was kind of like, yeah, but I've gotten older and I can appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I understand where it is now, and like some of the arrangements and stuff, I'm like, that's great, and the keyboards work perfectly with it.
Oh, yeah. And Alex he like changed his guitar tone for that, too, to like match what they were doing.
He went to Tellys during the 80s. In the 70s, he was a Gibson guy, and then he kind of went to Tellys, and then another off-brand guitar I've never heard of, so he kind of switched it up, and in the 90s, he went to like PRS. And so he's been like, throughout the years, he's used different brands, but he's got that kind of tone. And he is honestly, in my opinion, probably the most underrated guitar player ever. No one else sounds like him. And that's the thing I love about him.
He's unfortunately for him, he's in the band with the best drummer and the best bassist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, hey, I'm playing guitar, but my bass player, he's singing. He's playing bass and the keyboards, and our drummer's got a 360-degree drum kit, and he's this lyricist. It's like, damn.
Yeah. Like it's hard to compete with Geddy and Geddy's got such a good voice, and he's just the best fucking bass frontman other than Lemmy that I know of. I mean, whenever I saw them at R40, which you did too, right?
Yeah, I saw them twice. I saw them on the Time Machine tour. They played the whole Moving Pictures album in its entirety.
And it was. I didn't see that.
But yeah, you were on the R40, right?
Yeah.
And they did Xanadu, and they brought the double necks out.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm up there like freaking out.
Yeah, oh, dude, it was sick. But yeah, you got Geddy, who's like this crazy fucking just finessing bass player who can just play these crazy licks, play the synth with his feet on the ground, and sing in fucking falsetto. And then Neil is like an octopus in the back, and you don't know what he's doing, but it sounds like magic.
Yeah. And see, that was like with my music and stuff, that was when I was 13, my father had cassette tapes, and I remember, and he had his vinyl collection. I was going through his vinyl collection, and I come across Rush 2112. Never heard of Rush, and never heard that album, but I saw the cover, and I was intrigued. So I started reading the lyrics in the gatefold. I'm like, this is interesting. It's kind of like Star Wars. And then I went, and he had a cassette tape of 2112. I went and I put it in my cassette player, and I'm 13 years old, and I'm sitting there reading this, and my jaw dropped to the floor. I'm like, oh my God. And that was my favorite band from then on out. So it kind of went full circle, because when I discovered them, I discovered, because I was listening to like straight 4/4, like, basic like Van Halen and stuff like that, and AC/DC and Skynyrd. But I realized with them, I'm like, you know what, you can write complex stuff, but it still be memorable and catchy.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened was I discovered Queensryche, Dream Theater, and then really the only band that was like a musical revelation for me was Mastodon when I discovered those guys. And I'm like, holy shit. It was the same thing with Rush. It was like a religious experience when I discovered them. And that's what made me go into like writing heavy riffs, intricate stuff, but also memorable, where it wasn't too crazy. We're like, wow, that went out in left field, and I don't know where else it went. So that kind of went full circle, and with this new EP, that's what I did is I kind of wanted to write like concise songs, not too long, but also throw a little bit of prog in there, a little bit of intricate stuff, like keep it interesting, throw a curveball. Like Storm the Gate has this fast syncopated riff right in the middle of it and stuff, but then it goes right back into the verse and chorus. And Beast also has a breakdown riff. It's like, because I also love like Gojira and some of these bands that throw in those sick breakdown riffs in the middle, and it's like gets your head bobbing.
Oh yeah, Gojira is one of my favorite bands to see live since we saw them in Exit 111.
And like that's what I love about your guys' band too, is that you can do that kind of stuff. Like you'll play some intricate stuff, but right in the middle you're gonna hit a riff and you're gonna milk that riff, and it's just like, whoa, holy shit, wow, that was awesome. Like I remember the one riff, and I will bug you until the day I die, but Nocturnal March off your first one. I love that song, and
man.
that riff could, I love that. And then the drumming on that, like it's syncopated with that, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep requesting that at every show you do until one day you're like, fuck it, guys, let's play it.
Honestly, man, we tried to fuck around with it, and
fucked about bringing it back.
me and Turbo still vaguely remember it. We've never taught Trevor that song. That was before his time.
Yeah. But my favorite Salesman song, honestly, would probably be the Man, Myth, and Legend. And I'm really glad that you told me when you gave me the CD, because I didn't have an iTunes, but you said, dude, on Quietus, it said, you keep listening, because there'll be some silence, but there's going to be something in the middle there. Because if you would have never told me, I would have been like, after it was silent, I'm like, all right, go to the next track. And then that came on, and man, I think the one thing I love is your two harmony vocals and your solo, but also that chorus. How you said the man, the myth, and the legend, that lyrics, that was spot on and perfect.
Well, thanks.
And it's just a great song. And then you mentioned to me with your upcoming album that you guys are working on that was kind of falling in that same vein, and you let me listen to it a couple weeks ago, and it is. And you mentioned it's going to be different, but it's different in a good way. And it's still the Salesman, but that's the definition of progressive music, is you've got to progress, and that's what you guys are doing. You're not kind of staying in the same box, because you're one of those that every song is different. It's not the same. It's not like AC/DC. But I heard the new songs, and I'm like, it's different, but it's still a Salesman, and it's still good.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks. We've been working really hard on this album.
Yeah.
For fucking started September 2019 is when we did the live tracks of the first shit we recorded.
Yeah.
Excuse me, guys.
Jeez.
This podcast is sponsored by PBR. It's really not, but come on, guys.
I'm the water guy, as always. We were in one of my first bands I was in called Three Drunks and a Driver, and it was 4 of us. And it was always funny because people, when they come to the shows, they come to the front of the stage and try and figure out who the drunks and the driver was. And they'd always know, because our drummer, bass player, and other guitar player would have like beers next to him. And there was like 2 or 3 waters, and like, you're the driver. I'm like, yeah.
That's a good band name, though. Three Drunks and a
Yeah,
Driver.
I know. One of our old guitar players said that, and at first I was like, that's a stupid name. And then all of a sudden, then I was like, after a while, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. And then everyone just kind of laughed. And then went from there to, we had originally, it was Leadfoot, but there's like 20 bands out there with the same name, because our bass player Nathan kind of came up with the name. So then we had to differentiate. He goes, why don't you 65? Because Highway 65. And I was like, okay, Leadfoot 65. And some people that don't know from this area, they're like, 65, they ain't fast. It's like, it's the highway.
It's the highway.
Yeah.
And I told him when we started, I'm like, we need to do Sammy Hagar's I Can't Drive 55, but I can't drive 65.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be smart, man.
That's what we need to do.
That'd be a good cover, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I was just on 65 earlier. Went on up to Branson, did some Crimbus shopping, and yeah, man, that sucks. I fucking hate Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
Spending so much money.
Oh,
My
yeah.
cold hard cash.
Already got mine done, so I'm just like, all right, done.
Yeah, I'm getting close to done. I'm just trying to knock it out.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend was done like last month, and
But I thought that was cool with this. I thought it'd be a nice little kind of Christmas present for everyone because no shows, COVID and stuff. So I thought right before the holidays, let's drop one more in there.
hell
So-
yeah.
And it was cool. You were talking about you guys been working on your album since September 2019, so it's been over a year. And see, I like that in a way because if you work on it for a long time and stuff, you know, you're able to develop the sound and stuff, and you really can tweak it to where you want it like perfect the way you have it.
Yeah.
Me on this one, I decided to kind of go in kind of quick and catch, you know, spontaneity on it. Because this, rehearsing it, because on this album, if everyone has or hasn't heard it, my drummer in Leadfoot 65, Skip Reed, he actually helped me out both on my first EP and this one as well. And we rehearsed this for like a month, I think. We did like 4 or 5 practices. And he was kind of like, he's one of these that he's not the flashiest drummer, but he does exactly what the song needs. He kind of told me, he's like, I kind of did like Phil Rudd meets Lars Ulrich. Like, he'd do the basic beat and he'd throw that weird Lars Ulrich drum fill in the middle of nowhere. It's like, where'd that come from? So it kind of doesn't, it was weird, but it actually worked. So we rehearsed it a couple times, and then I kind of set the date, and I called our engineer and I said, hey, we're going to come up this time. And that actually on this one helped it out tremendously because we went in there and we had so much fun. And, you know, if we kind of messed up in the middle section, it's like, hey, pull it back and punch us in at that spot, and we'll set the tempo again. And Skip did some stuff on the drums that he didn't do in our practices. And so it was like it captured something like, hey, that wasn't kind of planned, but it actually came out on the recording. And then he's like, oh, great, now I got to remember it and learn it.
Right.
Yeah,
But that's
how
what
it
I
be
wanted to
sometimes.
do is spontaneity, because the other ones were kind of planned out. But this one I was like, hey, let's go in there and let's just do something completely different. And honestly, this is probably the best work I've come out with both sonically and musically. I love all the releases we've done, and with Leadfoot and my solo EP. This one I'm extremely proud of. And fortunately, there's a lot of people that really dig it and like it. And also, too, they talked about the diversity, because I'm like, let's not make it a metal album. Let's have a classical piece in it and different stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. The first track, Conquest, is like a classical piece.
Yeah, and it's kind of in the vein of like Metallica. I love like Battery, To Live Is To Die, that kind of classical thing, and with the dual harmonies and stuff. There was a band that all started, the classical thing was on our last Leadfoot album, The Gods. The opening track was Prelude to War, and there's a thrash metal band from Canada called Annihilator that was in the 80s and 90s. They're not really well known, but they could have been part of the Big Four or the Big Eight or whatever you want to call it. And one of their albums had an opening track that was classical that had the dual guitar harmony kind of thing on the nylon, and that kind of inspired me. And I was like, I can do something like that. So I went to Prelude, and so I knew with this, I'm like, I need to throw another little classical piece in there to kind of, alleviate from like start off with a nice, slow, melodic classical piece and then launch into a thrashy, proggy, heavy metal tune.
Yeah. Hey, dude, that's like the thrash formula, some
Yeah.
classical guitar. at the
Lure him into a
beginning.
false sense of security. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's going to be beautiful. And then boom, it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me check this camera really quick, because this one up here, the failsafe camera, is pointed like right at me, like it's spun.
Wow, you're a superstar, Nick.
He uses gravitational force to bring
Yeah.
it towards him.
Yeah, I can't even see you in it. It's the cable that's connected.
So I want to ask you two a question. How long have you two been playing music together?
I think we started in junior high at some point. We were called Death of the Salesman.
I remember that.
And I played guitar. Nick and I both played guitar, and we had a Sam James was our vocalist. It was like a screamo type of,
Yeah,
heavy
we were
metal.
definitely trying to be a death metal band
Yeah.
at that time. Like,
I never saw you guys live at the time, but I remember you played. Was it Hugo's? Was it that?
Oh, yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
Pizzeria?
you
At that
played
point-
out there one night. I remember there was a big poster. I think like Snake Fighter was on the bill too.
I wouldn't be
But-
surprised.
But I just remember-
I bet Seven drew the poster too.
Bet you did.
But I remember people were talking about it and stuff like that and everything. And I think the first time I ever met you guys was obviously several years later. The first time we actually played and we met, we played 2 gigs on the same day.
Yeah,
We
that
played Rocktoberfest.
Rocktoberfest.
We were like, Leadfoot was the first band on. It was like noon and it was cold as hell.
Was that
And
at the fairgrounds?
It was at the
Yeah.
fairgrounds, yeah. So it was the first time I heard you guys. And then later that night we played at Dead Eddie's. And it was
Oh, yeah,
you
that's right.
guys, Leadfoot, and Agents.
Yeah.
And so we got to play 2 gigs. And I remember when I was there, you guys launched in. And I remember kind of like stopping in my tracks like, what the hell is this? And that's when I kind of had to peer around and look, and it's like, damn. And then I remember we hung out later that night, and I remember the first thing I asked you was, do you listen to Mastodon? You're like, yeah. And I said, because your voice kind of reminds me of Troy Sanders in a way.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, that's pretty much what I was trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to I still don't really know how to sing, but getting better at it.
Does anyone really know how to sing?
I don't know, dude. Like, some people can really sing. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was listening to some Fleetwood Mac on the way up here today. Like, Stevie Nicks, she could sing.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I saw her live, and man, she can just kill it live. It's just like, holy
Oh,
crap.
I bet.
But what we were talking about with you guys playing, that was the one thing I noticed was that, like, you two have been playing, like, you guys have been playing music ever since you started together, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You guys are, like, so interlocked with what you're doing. And that's what was cool, and that's what made me think, like, with this EP and me and Skip, that's kind of been the same thing. He's been always the drummer behind me, and we've been playing for about 10 years. So that's what I kind of draw a correlation there between you two, because I'm like, these guys have been playing together forever, and it's just like watching you guys live, and with the harmonies and your stage presence too, especially you. You're wild man back there.
Well, I used to I always remember like playing guitar on stage and like you can like move around and stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's like I have to sit down, so I try to do as much as I can.
I was impressed with you
sitting
one
on my
night
ass.
at the hangar. You had on one of your bass drums. You had a beer on there, and you're playing with that beer on there. I kept watching it during the song. At the end, it never spilled. Like
Hell
that is
yeah.
impressive right there.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like something we would definitely
Yeah,
do.
for sure.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was what was that one band that we saw at Nomads? We played a show with them, and it was a 2-piece.
No, we didn't play. We watched that
Oh,
show.
we watched that show. It was
Jucifer.
yeah, Jucifer.
Ju-
yeah.
Jucifer?
Yeah.
Two-piece black metal band,
Two-
and
Guitar and drums or bass
Yeah.
and
guitar
drums?
and drums.
Guitar and
It
drums.
was a female guitarist, right?
Yeah.
And
Female guitar player, and she had a wall of amps that weren't like guitar amps.
Were they
were
bass
just
amps?
like, I don't know. They were just like
they're just like speakers.
They
yeah.
just looked like subs and like just random speakers that you could throw together. It was like a part of their set.
Yeah.
And she had a foot switch for lights, and her drummer had a huge kick that was like this tall.
Mm.
And he had one snare and a fucking floor tom and a crash and a hi-hat.
That was it.
Yeah, it's interesting with
It was
bands
nuts.
because there's bands out there that are starting to kind of do that, like a different format. Like what I've been getting recently, Russian Circles, and it's instrumental.
Yeah, they're badass.
But like the guitar player, to get that really thick and chunky tone, he's got a bass amp that he's running through.
Oh yeah.
And then like some of them, like you've got like Animals and Leaders that will do 2 guitar players and a drummer. Because the gent thing, I mean, a lot of them, they don't need a bass player because they're got a 7-string and they're chugging on that low.
Actually, they're playing 8 strings, man.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now Periphery. Because
Yeah.
Periphery,
Yeah.
some live, they'll have a bass player, they'll have Nolly, but then some tours they won't. They'll just have 3 guitar players and a vocalist and a drummer, but it's because that one is like chugging.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go.
Dude, I mean, the 8-string, sorry guys, I'm tired. The 8-string guitars are fucking chunk.
Yeah.
I mean,
You would have thought 6 strings, 7, 8 strings. It's
Right.
like, oh, God.
it sounds kind of old-fashioned, but I'm like kind of a purist. I want to just play 6 strings. Like,
well, and it's like Mastodon because what they'll do is they'll tune down. Like instead of I'm gonna get a 7 string where I can go down to A, no, they're just gonna tune their top string down to A. Which, man, they must have great intonation to do that because I've went down to drop A and it's like I hit that too hard and it's like whoa, and it knocks it out of tune.
Yeah, I think Bones of the Earth does that. I think
they're badass. Did you hear their new song?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, what I like is that they've got this concept going on. It's the second part of their story from their first album, and that the first and second album cover mirror each other.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's freaking cool.
You could like put a picture of them like on top of each other and cut it in half, and like have one side showing each side and it'd be the same person in the same crowd.
But man, they're killer. I saw they did a live video. They opened for I think it was I Hate God, and they did they filmed it at not Nomads. It was George's, and it was really killer. I've never seen them live, but I saw some footage. And
dude, that's a band you need to check out in person. Like the footage is great; they do great on footage, but the actual experience of seeing Bones of the Earth live.
People go check out Bones of the Earth
whenever they're playing again. Yeah. Fucking, we've had 2 of their members on the show so far. We're really good friends with those guys.
And aren't you on a side project with one of them?
Kind of on the DL, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We are.
We'll cut it out.
We're jamming. That's all you people need to know.
Okay, gotcha. Speaking of George's, I think a highlight for me personally, really, which was really cool, was helping you guys and watching you guys open for the Sword. That was killer. I remember I got there because I'm one of these people, I get to concerts early. And you guys got there, and this is when you had your broken leg, so I became the roadie for the day and was helping loading all the gear. But I just remember, like, watching you guys. And I remember I took that picture of you guys on the stage before any was there. But, man, that was so cool because I love the Sword. And Terminus killed, too. But, man, I was just so proud of you guys. I'm like, man, these are local dudes, and they're sharing the stage with the Sword. And hopefully, if all this COVID stuff, they can get George's kind of back open and get more stuff like that going.
Yeah, that was like a dream come true. Like, I was fucking giddy whenever we got the gig. Like,
only thing was you had the broken leg and you're sitting down. But I like that. I like how your chair was like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put some lights on it.
Cool. Yeah, whenever we got the news that we were getting the gig, I was at work. I was working at McDonald's at the time. And I just, like, left my station. I was like, yeah! I played with the Sword! I was like,
the kitchen's on fire, Nick. I don't care!
I don't give a fuck.
I was like, fuck this job! This doesn't matter. I'm fucking gonna play rock and roll with one of my
Nick's
favorite
boss,
bands.
man. He walked out of his work while I was on fire, and he's like, see you later. I'm opening for the Sword, bitches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My boss was like, you have to start initiating again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but...
And that same night, too, I became a huge fan of Terminus. Like, I understood what people talked about. Like, I think he told me it's like prog metal, but it's got, like, the vocalist, Sebastian, kind of, it's got that Getty kind of sound to it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really cool, and it's unique. And, like, their latest one, like Down to the Wire, that's, like, one of my favorites they did.
Yeah.
And then, I can't pronounce it, but Papillion?
I don't know. I'd have to. I don't look at song names. I'm bad about that. I'll hit play on the album and then I just let it go and I listen to it. So I'm pretty bad with names.
I like titles though, because sometimes you can kind of see how the record's going. It's just like, oh, the song title's like this is gonna be like mine. It's just like Conquest, Storm the Gate, The Outlaw, Beast, and then To the Stars. So
hell yeah.
I knew with Beast, I'm like, okay, Sean, you've got a song called Beast. You're gonna have to like be really super heavy with that. And then like a song like The Huntress on our Leadfoot album, like that's got the title. It's like, all right, you can't be like The Huntress and like a ballad-esque something. I'm like, no, this is gonna be heavy in your face,
heavy as balls.
Yeah,
I think that's probably like the most difficult thing for us is finding good song names.
Now here's the thing.
Yeah, we're like so bad at naming songs that a song that we've never named officially is been named. And it's fucking Mike Tyson. We called it Mike Tyson as a filler name until we found a real name. And then
Leroy Jenkins.
That's Uncommon Grounds. When we write our sets, we still write Leroy.
Yeah.
Because like Uncommon Ground's too long. Leroy's short.
Yeah. I'm different is that I have a title that pops in my head and then I'm like, okay, I know what I want to do lyrically and what I want to write about. And then I start working on the music. See, I'm doing like, okay, I got the title, and I start writing the riffs, and then I start writing my lyrics, kind of molding it around it.
It's an interesting process.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
like for example, like Starfighter, that was one of those. I'm like, I like that name. I said, okay, and then it's like, okay, I've got a concept of what I want to write about. I said, but then I've got to get the music to it of what I want, and then that's when I kind of like started. I kind of have an idea where I want to go with it, and then it kind of just. It's one of those things, and you guys can tell, is that sometimes you'll sit there with a riff, and all of a sudden one riff leads to another, and then like in an hour or two, it's like, I've got pretty much almost a song written here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like weird when it happens because it's like you're thinking about it actively, but it's like coming to you from like somewhere else. It feels like sometimes like you're fucking tapping into like something, some stream of like information that like it feels like it doesn't belong to you, but it does because you're thinking it. But who's like, how are you getting those thoughts in your brain of how these fucking riffs are coming? It's coming from the stream of power, man.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to think about this. Like, if they take like a scan of your brain of a musician and stuff like that, here's the thing: people got to realize some people have perceptions about musicians, but it's like, man, we're thinking of this stuff as we're playing and stuff like that. So that's a lot of concentration and like brain power you got to use. Like, you're playing live, you're writing this stuff like that. So
Yeah, well, dude, like I try not to think when I play live because if I do think, that's when I fuck up. I just like kind of feel out. I know what I'm supposed to be playing. I feel out the emotions, and I don't think of what I'm playing. I just feel.
Let the muscle memory do its work.
Yeah. That's what I try. That's a delicate balance because I do kind of try and remember to make sure, but also, if you overthink it, and I've done that at some occasions, and it's just like, well, that wasn't. I was overthinking it, and what I thought was cool turned out it didn't.
Yeah. Oh, dude, like the only time I truly think hard in a set is whenever I'd already been thinking about a song. And I'm like, fuck, where are we at? And other than that, I just try to feel it out. Like improvising and all. Sometimes we'll improvise middle sections. I'm not thinking about improvising it. It just kind of happens. Maybe I think it for like a split second. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to throw the guys off.
And see, that's what happened to me was I became the guys kind of teasing. It's like about every song or like every album we do, there's going to be a long song Sean writes with a middle section in it. But that was like my whole deal of like Rush and Mastodon is like they'll do that. They'll throw a middle section in there that it kind of changes like time signatures and kind of the groove, but it still melds in with the song. Like the first one I did was Starfighter. Like right in the middle of that, it goes into a syncopated riff that changes the time, but it's catchy and it's hooky and it fits and melds with the song. And like the Gods, that's a long epic. And I had all these riffs and they kind of like married each other. And then that's when I'm like, okay, that's a middle section kind of thing. Because I like that. Like, I'll play a full song with no middle section, and that's cool. But then I like those songs where it's like it kind of takes you on a little bit of a journey. Like, it's like peaks and valleys is what I call it. It's like, here we go. We're just traveling along. And, we're going to take a left turn. Oh, wow. It's going down this deep rabbit hole and then pop right out. And it's like, it's beautiful again.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's what music's about, you know? Like, some songs are one mood, and that's it. And other songs will take you through a roller coaster of emotions and atmospheres of what the soundscape is presenting to you.
Yeah, and your songs do that. I'm trying to think.
Can you hook me up with Risky?
Sphere is really good. And I like how that kind of, like, it kind of changes. And then your newer stuff that you let me listen to, that's what I was thinking when I was sitting there listening to it. Is like it was those changes and the different moods and themes and stuff. And I was like, that's really cool. It's just like you think you figured it out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there it is. There's a change again.
I mean, I try to keep it interesting. Like a lot of times when I write a song, I don't think about like choruses or verses. I just like start with one riff. May not ever repeat it again. And like some songs I'll try to never repeat riffs, but not even try. That's just where it's going. Like I don't think it needs to go back to those places.
Yeah.
I think it's a story sometimes, but sometimes, I mean, most of the time in most of our songs we do have repeating parts.
Yeah. They're so chunky.
They're chunky. But some songs we don't repeat parts, and it's just like a part of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like on this one, I call it the meat and potato song. It's the easiest, and it's the outlaw. And it's the same riff pretty much the whole song, but it's like it's short and to the point. And like I mentioned, like I'm prog, but also like it's AC/DC when it's AC/DC.
Oh yeah,
short and to the point, and it's great, and I love that stuff. So I like to do a mix of like straightforward, and it's like, boom, that's great. And then throw in like a long song where it's just like, hey, it's going to be different, but there's going to be different moods in there, and it's just like it's going to keep it interesting. Because sometimes there'll be bands I've heard that'll do the long stuff, and they throw so much stuff in there that my head's about to explode. And then it's like, what was that? It was like, was that even like, how did that show up in the song? It's like, that is weird. But that's just me. And I'm also a big fan of power metal, actually. And see, a lot of my songs, like chorus-wise, like I like to have memorable choruses. Like Storm the Gate, I'm a huge fantasy fan. I love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. That's a song about basically, it's kind of like a Middle-earth thing. Like there's a overlord that's causing, depression over the land, and it's causing that, and all these people decide to do an uprising and storm the gate and overthrow the overlord. But I knew with that chorus, I'm like, okay, I've got to make it like a chant chorus and a gang vocal, like, it's like storm the gate. And so, because I always imagine being in the front of a stage, in front of a big crowd somewhere, and having a crowd chant that back. And I love bands that do that have those songs that they can step away from the mic, and there they are singing the verses and the choruses to you.
Oh yeah. That's how Iron Maiden felt, man. Iron Maiden was like,
yes, they're like the kings of that stuff.
Yeah,
yeah,
karaoke night.
Yeah, and even Bruce said that on the mic. He was like, "Look, we're playing a lot of new stuff tonight because we don't want to be the world's largest karaoke band." Like,
exactly, yeah. But that's the thing. Like, I remember I saw Iron Maiden. I've seen them twice, and one of the last times I saw them, they played the song "Blood Brothers," and I mean, everyone was singing that. I mean, you got like The Trooper and 2 Minutes to Midnight. It's like, I love those that you can catch them with a chorus that,
oh yeah,
yeah, if everyone knows it, you can step away from the mic. Like, I always have this image in my head of playing a big festival and playing Starfighter, and when that chorus comes up, just backing away from the mic, and they're chanting Starfighter, and it's just
hell
like,
yeah, dude, when I saw Iron Maiden, there's 2 points in the show that had me like where everybody was singing in, and I would get goosebumps. First one was Number of the Beast, when everybody was shouting 666. I thought that was so metal. And I was like, the 14-year-old in me was like, yeah, dude.
yeah.
And then when they played Power Slave during the part where he would be like, it was like the pre-chorus, Bruce would be like, scream for me, Tulsa, and everyone would be like,
okay, so you were at the Book of Souls tour in Tulsa.
Yeah.
I was at that same show.
Oh yeah, dude, that was killer.
The other song too that's really cool live they do, and a lot of people, they'll go ahead and they'll hum it, is Fear of the Dark.
Oh yeah, dude,
They'll
do
that.
The guitar parts.
Yes, and that's the cool thing. Steve Harris does that. He actually, they say when he writes, he's humming melody lines, because he's like, hey, a lot of people in the world, English is not the first language, and they really can't sing it. I said, so they make parts like that people can like chant to. It's like a big soccer chant kind of thing. So that's where the kind of the old school 80s metal and power metal comes into, because like there's a power metal band called Blind Guardian that's what they do. It's like they sing about Middle Earth, but they've got this song called Valhalla, which the chorus is like Valhalla, and it's like the whole crowd is just chanting that. And I'm like, that is cool. When you get like thousands of people to chant that, I'm like, that is just killer.
Yeah, that would be super cool, man. Like if I want anybody to sing with us, I want them to sing Mike Tyson. And I want them to say, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I want them to say bitch at the end.
Yeah. I noticed that at the end of the song of the new release. Yeah, you said
it's because I do it live, and it's like kind of my little nod to Axl Rose, because he says bitch at the end of a few songs.
Yeah.
And I fucking love Guns N' Roses. I've been on a Use Your Illusions kick. Something about fall weather makes me want to listen to Use Your Illusions.
Estranged.
Yeah,
November Rain.
Oh, no shit. That's why I turned it on. I was door dashing the other night, and it was raining. And I was like, well, November's not going to be here for forever, man. I only get a few opportunities a year to live this out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I went ahead and just started the album, which kind of sucked because it wasn't even like raining that hard by the time November Rain came on. It was kind of drizzling. Wasn't the same.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about like music like that, is that you can listen to it. Like, what I love doing is that I would like go to like Branson or something, because that's somewhat scenic, although some areas is kind of like that. But like I would roll down my windows on a nice summer evening, and I'll be going up to Branson or coming back there, and I'll be Crack the Sky. And it's just something about that album that's like, it's the spacey, ethereal feel.
Yeah.
And man, it's just like, I'll sit there in my car just driving along. It's like, man, I love this. And that was like, that album was so strange to me when I first heard it. I'm like, but that was the problem, was because I never heard anything like that ever. And then, so now it's like, that's my favorite album. I got to see them last year in Kansas City play that album in its entirety. And it was just mind-blowing. And they're playing The Last Baron, and they get to that really funky riff in the middle. And everyone's just like, I'm like, oh. And then they went and they started playing the old cuts, and they did like Mother Puncher. And it's just like, nice. That's one of those bands. It's like, I am got a mission, is that hopefully when shows come back, is that I'm like, I need to get VIP and meet those guys. And if I've got extra money, I need to get a guitar lesson with Bill.
Dude, yeah, that would be sick.
Because with these riffs on here, there's some stuff in there that's kind of got a Mastodon influence in it. Like in Storm the Gate, there's a syncopated riff that I listened to Hand of Stone. And I'm like, and there's a syncopated riff in there, and it kind of like inspired me. And then the breakdown riff in Beast, kind of where it was like kind of like Where Strides the Behemoth, kind of thing. Because I like to throw a little bit of my influence in there, but kind of just make it my own, which I think everyone does, because if you kind of like try and copy your heroes, and it's kind of like people can tell.
Yeah, you'll be Greta Van Fleet.
I'm
calling you out.
You heard it first.
You know what? I'm going to say this, is that, yes, I mean, I get the Led Zeppelin, I get the whole Led Zeppelin comparison, but I think give them a couple more albums and stuff, and they hopefully find their own sound.
Honestly, I think they got caught up being industry mules. Industry probably hurt. They probably had a song that sounded like Zeppelin, and whenever they got signed, they were probably like, "You have to do this and only this," because that's just kind of how the industry is.
Because record companies, the ones that are left that are rocker oriented, they're looking for the bands of past. That's like, okay, we need to find another band that's like Led Zeppelin or something like that. And
we've already had that though, man. Wolf Mother was the shit with that first album. Fuck the other albums, but Wolf Mother's first album was like Zeppelin 2.0. I remember when that stuff was coming out. I was but a wee lad. It was good. I mean, The Joker and the Thief is still a badass song. I don't care what people say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. As far as like, I wouldn't be able to compare Wolf Mother to Led Zeppelin though.
No, they're not really Led Zeppelin, but they're like the style of 70s rock.
Yeah.
Like, you remember Airborne? They kind of were
I do not.
Airborne. It was like they were kind of like an AC/DC kind of sound. There was a band in the 80s called Kingdom Come that had a #1 hit, and it was like Led Zeppelin. And it's like, what's this? In Rush, their first album. Everyone called in. It was like, when's the new Led Zeppelin come out? It's like, no, this is Rush. So when you first kind of start out, you wear your influences on the sleeve, but then eventually you start kind of finding your own sound, and then it's just like perfect. And then you can kind of go, and that's the thing. And that's the thing with me, is that, like, I heard that Mastodon thing when I first heard you, but now I've heard you with your Walking On album, and then also with your new stuff, and I'm like, okay, you've kind of like, you've gotten away from that, and it's like, I can't even categorize these guys. Like, what are they?
It's good. I don't want to be like, people are like, what kind of music are you? I'm like, I don't know. We play rock and metal, but we're like, not either.
Yeah. The funniest one, we played the Lyric Theater, and that was a big highlight for us, was playing the Lyric.
Hell yeah.
And
it's a big stage.
Yeah, and they put a little flyer thing up. They put a flyer thing up at the show and on the website, and they tried to describe us, and they called us Southern Power Rock.
Hell yeah!
And I was like laughing, because I'm like, yeah, I said we play Southern rock, but we sing about Dungeons and Dragons. And kind of we do. It's just like, because I write.
Dude, I fucking love Southern rock, dude. Like, a lot of my licks are literally from learning Southern rock songs as a kid.
Yeah, like us, they even said that in the review, was it like, I always tell them, someone had said when we played the Metal Night at AJ's with Sound Pilot and Agents, somebody had to describe our sound, and I think they described it perfectly with my band Leadfoot 65. They said heavy riffing hard rock is what they called it. And I said, that is perfect. I said, because we're hard rock, we're not really metal, but we've got heavy riffs in there. Because we're more, I would consider us more hard rock, because we cut our teeth on Skynyrd. Me, Nathan, and Skip, between the collective, we can be in a Skynyrd tribute band, because we know all these, and we play the deep cuts. It's not like Sweet Home Alabama. We know like On the Hunt. All that.
Swamp music.
Oh no, my drummer Skip knows it on guitar, so he
Hell
needs to teach it to me. But that's the thing, and
I fucking love that
it's
one,
like with Skinner, it's like I love the deep cuts more, the stuff that you don't hear on the radio, and that's a lot of me with like a lot of other bands.
Oh,
Working for MCA was one of my favorites as a
Oh man, yeah. I Ain't the One.
kid. I Ain't the One's a good.
Yeah.
Oh, I Ain't the One.
Poison Whiskey. That's
Whatever.
a really
Poison
good one.
Whiskey's good too, but man, well, I Ain't the One being that album opener of their debut album. It starts off with that drum intro, like, got that, and it's by the time it comes in and that main riff hits, it's like, wow, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like early Skinner in like wrapped up in one song.
And
other
what
than
people
Freebird,
need to understand is that their music, it's people think it's simple, but when you actually play it, there's some intricate stuff in
dude,
there.
you know how they did it, like how they were able to make it as a band. They like all lived with Van Zant and his girlfriend, and she like paid the bills.
And they did the Hell House thing where they went down there in this little shack, and it was hot as hell in Florida.
Yeah.
And they were sweating their asses off, and Ronnie was kind of like, we're doing this right and stuff, and they just kept rehearsing.
Yeah.
That's what they basically did.
They were the first band to open up for The Who and not get booed off stage.
Yeah, and
Like-
that's a testament. But
Yeah.
man, you listen to that stuff, and there's some intricate stuff. I mean, we played a lot of Skinner stuff. Like, one of the ones that we always played was Needle in the Spoon.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's
man.
pretty tricky. And I mean, they've got the harmonies and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
always one of those things. Is like getting older as a musician. You go back and listen to some of that stuff you thought was simple, and then you really delve deep into it, and you're like, boy, that's really a lot trickier than I thought it was going to be.
Dude, and you could say the same thing about AC/DC. I mean, you can like learn the chords that AC/DC is playing, but unless you have two guitar players,
You've got to have
and-
the pocket
and a
on the
bass player,
drums.
and a bass player, the pocket on the drums, you're not going to get that sound because the way that Angus and Malcolm did their chords together, they were playing the same chords, but they were playing them differently to fill in more sonic space.
Yeah.
And you need that, like it's
Sonic Space.
yeah,
Sonic
That's
Space.
cool.
That sounds like song title
There
right
we
there.
go.
Sonic
Alright,
Space.
Write that one
I
down.
was just thinking about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Hey, Sonic the Hedgehog's cool. I haven't seen the movie, but
I haven't
remember
either, but
playing
I
the
hear
game.
it's good. I mean, they literally internet fans got the production company to change what Sonic looked like because he looked like garbage, and they changed him. Thank you.
Yes,
And I've never seen it, but he looks like Sonic now. At first, he looked like this weird fucking little thing, and you're like, that's not Sonic. He's blue. He's got the hair.
Yeah.
But those eyes, he's like a fucking weirdo. Like,
A weirdo. You're
I
not
think they
Sonic.
gave him teeth, too, that was like weird, like human teeth. I think they gave him
Yeah.
human teeth, and he looked
Weird.
like a But yeah, they listened to the internet fans and they changed them to look like Sonic should look like.
Yeah, and more studios need to do that.
They do. They need to listen to fans, especially you, Disney. Fuck the new Star Wars, except the Mandalorian.
I liked it too, but when you say Star Wars recently, I would much rather watch The Phantom Menace 100 times over than ever see The Last Jedi ever again.
Dude,
I hated
the best thing about Disney owning Star Wars, in my opinion, is they make the prequels that much better.
Yes.
Like, oh man, I watched all the prequels the other night. I binged them because I was like in the Star Wars zone, and they're cringy, but like at the same time, George had so much, like he had so much to create, like to add to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Whereas the new trilogy was like, remember this?
They're like The Force Awakens kind of mirrors A New Hope in a
Oh,
way.
yeah,
It's kind of
they're
like a copycat.
Yeah, they're like, okay, so the bad guys, they're on a Death Star, but it's a planet.
Yeah.
Like,
wow,
what the
very
fuck?
original.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
stupid, man. But like, if you go back to the prequels, you're going to planets you've never seen before, which they did in the sequels, but they weren't that cool. Like, you had
Yeah.
another desert planet. Oh yeah, well, fucking the prequels, you had Camino, like a storm planet that's storming nonstop, and they make clones there. That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
You get to see where Chewbacca came from, and Kashyyyk.
And that's cool about The Mandalorian that I think is cool because, with the original Star Wars movies, you were condensed to a couple planets. But with The Mandalorian, he's going to all these planets. And I mean, have you caught up on the recent season?
Yes, I am.
That dude at the end, I swear, that's Boba Fett. And
Oh,
that he
dude.
didn't die.
Hey, well, dude, have you watched the new Mandalorian since it came out?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. That
And-
totally
and-
was Boba Fett.
Yeah,
man.
and the thing is, like, they're bringing in, like, from the comics and stuff after, like, They went back to Tatooine. When's the last time we were back in Tatooine? It was in Return of the Jedi. And then they've got that one chick when they're with the lightsabers. We thought all the Jedis were dead.
Yeah.
No, she's
Ahsoka
still
Tano.
around. And then
Grogu. Yeah,
I'm still calling him Baby Yoda though, because Grogu. I'm like, it's kind of a weird name.
Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the new stuff. Sorry, guys.
You're like, damn it, Sean and Nick, they all ruined it.
I haven't seen it at all.
Dude, fucking...
Thanks,
and
guys.
Thrawn. They mentioned Thrawn. Have you heard about Thrawn?
No, I haven't.
There was like a whole trilogy of like expanded universe books about Thrawn, and apparently he was like building a secret empire or like something in the shadows.
Yeah.
So I think what they're gonna do is try to make Thrawn like the original OG of the First Order. Because they mention Ahsoka Tano mentions Thrawn at the end of the episode. She's like, "Where is Thrawn?" when she's interrogating that chick. So they're bringing in Thrawn from the EU, which is cool.
I'm not going to try and spoil
unless
anything,
he's already been canon. I don't know.
Here's my theory: is that you know how he's looking for the Jedi? He's on the hunt for one.
He's gonna find old Luke.
No, Mace Windu.
Yeah,
because he got thrown out of the window, but we don't know if he died.
Yeah,
and
Darth Maul didn't die, and he fell down a shaft.
And he was in Solo.
Yeah, apparently Palpatine didn't die. Fuck you, Disney.
Yeah,
and he fell down a shaft.
So I'm calling it that the Jedi he's looking for is Mace Windu.
I hope it is Mace Windu, dude. What if mindfuck Mace Windu was Snoke? Oh,
that would be. Well, the thing is, I think it's more or less Disney, but if it's Mace Windu, if he's back, he's got to say motherfucker. At least
Disney
once.
can suck it. Disney can suck it, dude.
Yeah.
Like Dave Filoni is the best thing about Disney right now, and John Favreau, whatever his name is.
And that's why they're gonna get Mace, because John Favreau was also in Iron Man, and so was Nick Fury.
That is
so
true.
Like,
John Favreau, but Dave Filoni, he's my main guy. I really like Dave Filoni because he worked with George Lucas on the Clone Wars animated series.
Yeah.
So he's like George's he's his apprentice basically. He's the Padawan who's now become the master since George has stepped out of the game. And so Dave Filoni, the shit that he works on turns to gold. All the other J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson bullshit, fuck you, Disney.
Like Last Jedi. I was in that movie theater on The Last Jedi, and I never get bored in the theater. But man, I was sitting there and I was like, I was bored. That whole thing when they went to the casino.
Dude, yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? I said, you went off on. It's like, what is that to do with the story?
Nope, it's just a cool shot.
Yeah, it was like, well, Benicio del Toro was in it, and I like him, but it's like, other than that, I'm like, there was no redeeming factor. And then the Rise of Skywalker, I'm kind of like the ending. I was like, it's like almost kind of ruined the originals for me. Like, I'm specifically like, I'm just gonna watch the originals.
She stole his fucking name.
Yeah, she stole his name. She's not related.
I was so the first time I watched it, I was really drunk. We lived like literally a block away from a movie theater, and I used to get drunk and go to the movies, so I wouldn't have to buy beer there. And I just thought watching movies in the theater drunk was fun because you're not supposed to be drunk and bubbly.
Yeah.
And
mischievous,
yeah. And
similar with riding our bikes through town drunk.
Yeah, riding our bikes down. Yeah.
Bicycles, no motors.
Not motorcycles.
Sounds like you two tore up town.
Oh yeah, we tore up Bentonville, dude. Yeah. I mean, but anyways, we'd go down there. We watched it. We were pretty drunk, and I thought, that's not bad. And then, like, a week later, I asked my little cousin if he wanted to go. And I was like, yeah, I'll take you, dude. I'll watch it a second time. I was sober as a bird because I'd, drive my cousin. And, man, I was disappointed. Like, I fell asleep through the film and woke up and was like, oh, man, what did I miss? Oh, it doesn't matter because this sucks. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. One of the things that pissed me off the most about Rise of Skywalker is when they were like, you got it. They went on like this fucking Indiana Jones treasure hunt. Oh, you got to find the dagger. And then you get the dagger, and then you stand on a certain spot, and the Death Star is torn apart the same way that dagger is. You're like, what? And you stand there.
Like, how?
Oh, that's where the fucking thing we're looking for is. Like, why wouldn't the guy who made that dagger just take the thing you're looking for? And like, this is the stupidest fucking thing. Like, fuck you, Disney, for ruining my favorite thing. Other than rock and roll. But Star Wars is my favorite movie saga.
Yeah.
And Disney just stuck Mickey's red rocket right inside of it, man.
Oh God. Yeah, but we were on that. Like I said, that's where because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, huge Lord of the Rings fan, and that's where my kind of realm of like writing became. Like I became the fantasy guy. Like I'll write stuff that people can relate to, like our what I call our Metallica type song, More Than Meets the Eye. I wrote it because it was kind of like people's perception. Like people may not know you, but they already kind of judge you, and it's just like there's a line that I always somehow relate to, and I think a few other people told me is like I wrote this line called what it said was speak of me unkind if that soothes your mind, but many will see you're no better than me. And that was kind of like a thing of you may be talking shit about somebody they don't really know, but I said if you do that, people will realize if you keep doing that, it's like, hey, he's not doing anything wrong. This person right here is an asshole, kind of thing.
Dude, sometimes it's good to have haters,
Yeah, and that there's always like that, but
if you have haters, you're doing something right.
Yeah, me personally, I mean, I don't consider like music a big competition. That was the thing. Like as a kid, I always thought like it was always intimidating, like seeing a band or whatever, and it's like, man, they kicked our ass or something like that. And everything, but more or less, I've become inspired by it, and I'm here to support everybody. Like me,
Absolutely.
like I'm banging the drum, but also like when I saw you guys, that lit a fire into my ass. Like these guys, they're fucking badass, and said we can do that too. And so you guys kind of like inspired me to do that. And like I remember, our drummer still talks about it. Was we played out Brian Keel's place? We did that Today's Last Dance. And you had to go to work the next day, so we were trying to figure out who would go on. And it was like, all right, Salesman go on and Leadfoot after. And I remember we played right after you, and I'm like, we got to follow that? And the drummer was like, damn. But then, like I said, that was one of those things. It was like after that, and then like I said, watching you guys play, I'm like, I'm not mad or anything. I said, I'm inspired. Because when I go to a concert or I see you guys play and everything, what do I do when I get home? I get my guitar out and I start playing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
That's
I'm so
awesome.
energized and like adrenaline. It's like, that was awesome. I'm
Yeah.
going to try and do something like that.
I definitely don't think that music is a competition either. Like
No.
I think all bands should, just embrace each other's art.
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
If you don't like it, don't like it, but don't talk shit on somebody. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
don't be an asshole because we're all in it together because we're all
Yeah.
here to support each other.
Like we're all here playing the same fucking venues. We're out here grinding, and
Yeah, and it's like I consider it like a big club, and we're all part of it. We're all buddies because guess what? Like we'll hang out. I remember we were out there at the hangar, and it was like I think like you, me, John Zulik from Agents, and a few others, and we just started talking about gear and shit, and other people that aren't musicians probably like, God, they're like talking Klingon or something.
Nerds,
Yeah, we're nerds.
Klingon.
We're sitting there like talking about gear and shit, and it's like I love that shit. Just getting with musicians and talking about music and gear and all that kind of stuff
Dude.
because we can all relate to
all
it.
nerd out on it. So tell me, gear-wise, what's your pedal board right now? What are you running?
I have virtually no pedal board.
Okay.
When I play live, I have a Marshall JVM 410H 100 watt head. It's the same one that Joe Satriani uses, and it's got a pedal board with 6 patches. That thing is a beast. I call it heavy bitch because it's heavy as a bitch. And that thing, it's got 2 overdrive channels, clean and there. But I just use the board there. I switch, and mainly when we play live, when I use my Marshall, I just got my overdrive on because we don't have another guitar player. And so I've got that. It's got more kind of a chunk and a high end to it. And then our bass player, Nathan, he got a distortion pedal. So we finally figured out to when I go to a lead, he still got his distortion on. So it doesn't drop out as bad. But pedal board wise, all I'm really using is just a wah pedal. And I'm using a tuner. I'm like old school, like Sabbath. Like
Hell yeah.
I used to use a delay pedal, but doing leads and stuff. And I noticed, and maybe I need to get a better one, but when I'd kick on my delay and go to solo, it would kind of drop out a little bit.
So what delay were you running?
I was using an analog MXR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
That's
probably
what I
need to go in
run.
there and
Carbon
tinker with it. Yeah, carbon copy.
Yeah, that's like my go-to delay, but I'm actually in the market to get a new reverb delay. I'm going to get the new, well, it's not new, but the Dispatch Master from Earthquaker. That'll be my next big purchase pedal-wise.
But me, it's old school, and then plus also too with some gigs you got like 15 to 30 minutes to like get your stuff set up. Like when we played out there at Minnie Harris, all I had is just I was using my PV and I didn't have the pedal because I just had distortion on, but all I had was sitting there was my wah pedal and my chromatic tuner. And I'll have reverb on, and that'll help and stuff like that. But it's a 3-piece kind of thing. I'm not going to be like, he's my guitar hero and I love him to death, John Petrucci. He's got a pedal board from hell. And it's just like, he's got all this stuff. And, if I had the money and I could dial it in right, I definitely would. But I'm not going to be like an octopus sitting there kicking every other time.
Well,
it's like,
yeah. I mean, that's a part of having lots of pedals. But they also make like certain pedals that you can chain pedals together, and you click that one pedal and it'll activate the multiple ones you need to activate together.
I want to get that, just stomp pedals.
Yeah.
Because you got the refrigerator effects and all that kind of stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Like I would get stomp boxes. What the cool thing I would like to have would be a lot of money, but a Kemper Profiler or an Axe Effects.
Dude, yeah.
Because that's like
shit.
this little thing like that, and it's like, that's all it is.
So, dude, do you do any recording like on a DAW at home? Like, do you have like a DAW that you run off of?
No, actually, no. Basically, as far as recording, like music-wise, I just went up to the engineer Greg Roller at Roller Music Pro Studios. Me personally, like on my videos and stuff, that's just straight from the phone. I don't have any fancy equipment at all.
So we're not sponsored by them, but if you want to sponsor us, go ahead. Fucking, you should check out Neural DSP, man. If there's like a pretty much any DAW, I think they can run on any DAW. I would assume so.
Yeah.
But it's a plugin, and it's got really, really good amp modelers. Like you could get certain packages that have certain kind of amps in them.
Yeah.
Like with like JCM 800 clones or like 5150 clones or like all that shit.
Yeah, that's what like Kempers and Axe Effects are doing too.
Yeah, and like whenever you like record at your house, or you're just like playing guitar at your house and you don't want to be loud, you could just fucking plug in your audio interface, play in your DAW, and listen to yourself in an amp that like is crazy hell expensive.
Yeah, if you got an old one that's got a headphone jack in it.
Yeah. But yeah, like it sounds really cool. It's something that I've thought about getting, but I just don't have the money to get.
I would love to have that, but it's some of it's kind of expensive. Like I live in a small apartment. If I can get my own house, my engineer Greg Roller that's up in Branson, Missouri, he's got the dream basement that I've always wanted, because you go down his basement. It's legit.
I think that's the same guy that we did
the first demo.
our demo.
He did Snake Fighters, one of their albums.
I'm pretty sure.
Had gray hair.
I don't remember, dude. We were like 14.
But yeah, he had in his basement. It's huge. It was I call it state of the art. But yeah, by the way, a plug. Roller Music Pro Studios in Branson, Missouri.
Shout
Go on
out.
the page.
Yeah.
Greg Roller, he is killer. All this right here, what you hear, and all the other stuff, Leadfoot and Solo EP, it was all done by him.
I'm like 85%. So whenever
he was a Hollister.
Whenever you walk in, like he's got like his main shit, like what is it called, the board, and then it's got like you've got a glass window. And then, like, that's where the guitar stuff is. And you got another glass window, and that's where the drums are.
No, it might have been different, because it's his house, and it's his basement, yeah.
It's his basement, yeah.
Yeah, but when you walk in there, you see the board, and then there's no guitar room. It's just the drum room and then a vocal booth. But, yeah, it's awesome. And
Is there a bathroom down there?
No, it's not. No.
So
it's not guy. Yeah, so it's not the guy. Yeah.
I don't remember the guy that we did our first demo with.
Yeah, we were super young.
We were 14. We thought it was the fucking craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was my thing. Was that I remember when I was 18, I went to there's a recording studio. I don't know if it's still there, but next to the mall in Harrison, it was Ozark Recording Studio or something, but it was run by an old guy. And I did an acoustic song in there, and I recorded just one song. My parents gave me money just to record it because they loved the song. And it was an old guy, and I sit there and I played and said, okay, what do you think? And he's like, oh, whatever you think. And I always hated that, because I want to work with somebody that, and Greg, he told me up front, he's like, I'm not a producer, all your engineer. But he also would tell me, like, when we first got in there, like, if we were playing too fast or something, or the song wasn't really there, he goes, that was all right. He said, I wasn't really feeling that. Do another one. And we'd play it better. So he was kind of like, and that's the thing with me, is that with somebody that's kind of doing that, whether it be producer or engineer, there's someone that can hear your music differently. They've never heard it before. You, like us three, have heard it forever. And he'll kind of throw in little kind of tips. He goes, yeah, the tempo was kind of a little fast, kind of slow it down or whatever. So he would kind of throw in that thing. And at first I was kind of like, what the heck? But then I was like, Sean, it's like, just step back a little bit. He says, understand that he knows what he's doing and just kind of listen to him. And so like all this other stuff we did, it's just he's kind of made suggestions and it's made it better. But also he was one of these that when we first got in there, he started busting our balls. And he just started making it, like, and we just started joking and laughing and stuff like that, and it wasn't like serious. And that's what I love is like you work with somebody that's just like, you know, you see this facial hair and it's just like, oh God, is it 70s again? It's like, oh yeah, good to see you too.
Hell yeah,
it looks really good though.
Having
oh, thank
a good
you.
relationship with your engineer is a big deal.
Yeah, this one we did here with Sequel, man, it was the most fun time I ever had in the studio. Because we were so relaxed. Because what we did is I did the bass on this. But every Leadfoot album that we did in my EP, we did it live on the floor rhythm track-wise. Leadfoot albums, me sitting down, Nathan right next to me and Skip in the drum room, and we played it, the rhythm tracks. And so with this, what we did, since I did bass, is I would sit outside of the drum room with the window, and I'd be playing guitar, and then Skip would play drums, and we would play the songs. And then when we were done with the rhythm tracks, I would just go back and I would cut the bass individually.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it was cool because I'd be sitting there, and then I would sit there, have a mic and stuff. And what really helped us was I was one of those people that it's like, okay, we're going to rehearse these songs, and I'm going to sing it with vocals. And we got a lot of time to rehearse it. But then I'm going to stop singing vocals. And we're going to start rehearsing instrumentally. So a lot of that Leadfoot stuff you heard, I really wasn't singing anything. Because we learned it, we played it so much that when I stopped singing it, we knew all where the parts were. So we were basically, it's like an instrumental album. We're playing instrumentally, and then I go in there. And on this stuff, what I would do, since it was just the two of us, is I would holler at Skip, have a mic and headphones on, and be like, verse, chorus, middle section, and he knew exactly where to go. And just to brag on my drummer here, Skip Reed, they got a song called The Man, Myth, and Legend. He, to me, is the man, the myth, the legend, and he killed it. The drums on this are incredible.
Good job.
And I'm extremely proud of him. But he came in, and it was like a shoot from the hip thing. But, yeah, I would just holler at him, verse, chorus, and he knew exactly where to go. And then if something happened, it's like, hey, Greg, back it up a little bit, punch us in, and then we play right along to it. So right when that punch came back in, we were right back in tempo and stuff.
Hell yeah.
And that was the thing, and that's what we do is we did instrumentally and stuff like that. But we would rehearse it like that. I was kind of like, okay, we're gonna just rehearse all these songs. I'll sing it, and then eventually I'll stop singing it. And then we realized how long those songs were. It's like, good Lord, it's like without vocals, that's just a long song.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is, man.
How do you guys, with you like recording wise? Now you guys have been in East Hall, right?
Yeah, we did this whole album minus the vocals for the first 5 songs.
Yeah. The long song we did it. Well, except the first one. We had to redo the vocals 5 times.
Yeah.
So do you play it live as a band, or do you you cut the
50-50.
drum tracks first and then?
Well,
50-50. We went really weird this album.
Yeah,
It was the dumbest thing I've ever done.
I think it.
But
I think
it worked.
Yeah, I think it's gonna sound.
I think it worked.
Super good
I don't
too.
know if I ever want to do that much metronome again, but it was fun. I mean, so what we did, September 2020 or 2019, September 2019. 2020 fucking sucks. September 2019, we had won this recording package with East Hall.
Yeah, I
And
remember
we
that
had-
contest. Yeah,
It's like what 2 songs? Or
Yeah,
something?
we had 2 songs for free. Well, we had like a really long song. We have a 22-minute song,
There you
and
go.
fucking, we got there and we're like, look, we got a really long song. Like, we want to record this for the package, and then just like, can we pay you for like,
Yeah, it's like
some of it, because like
How do you distinguish 2 songs?
Yeah.
Like we can split it up.
Because
into,
this is
like,
really
11
long. I would feel
minutes.
really bad milking 2 songs, like calling this one. This is one.
yeah.
So like we
It's like Sleep, that 1 40-minute song.
Yeah. Well, this is the fucking it's a really long song, so we split it into 3 parts. So we call it 3 songs. So we paid for like one of them.
Yeah.
And we recorded it all live in September, like no vocals or anything, but instrumentally we recorded it live at East Hall on analog tape, and it was great.
You did analog?
Yeah, we
Oh,
recorded analog
damn.
tape.
That's going to sound really good.
24-track analog tape.
Yeah,
right?
24-track with like fucking most of them on your drums.
Yeah, I think whatever.
It sounds great.
I think
though.
it was like 16 or something. He put 16 mics on the live, and then whenever we went back, he put 24.
Yeah, on
But
just the drums.
yeah, I think it was all digital at that point.
Yeah, because of COVID, they didn't break out the tape machine.
That makes sense.
Half the album is digital, half of it's analog. But that's no big deal. I mean, it's awesome, I think. But anyways, we went and recorded those first, those 3 songs, that 3 songs into that 22-minute song in the 3 parts.
Mm.
But we recorded that in September, and then we didn't have anything else. Like, that's all we had for the package. And we were like, well, we don't want to come out with this just yet. We would like to put this in an album.
Yeah.
And so from the course of like September to about, I would say like May, we just hit the writing hard and came up with 5 other songs and didn't have lyrics for a long time. One of them still doesn't have a name. We're really bad about that. But yeah, we recorded 5 songs, and what we wanted to do, since we'd done the 22-minute song live, we had one song of those 5 songs that we just could not do on a click track. It was just too much tempo change, too many bizarre riffs. We couldn't do it to a click. But the 4 other songs we were able to do to a click. So what I did to save on studio time and just to save money all in all was, excuse me, was record. So I basically like set out the click on my computer, did it the dumbest way ever. I just trialed and errored it until I finally got it right, and it took weeks. It should, maybe not weeks, but maybe it took took longer than I wanted. It was like maybe a week of working on it every day, and then still tweaking it here and there. And it was like adjusting for tempo and adjusting for like, just keeping everything like for certain pauses. It was a lot of work. But basically, I recorded all my guitar tracks, and all of Trevor recorded all of his bass tracks at my house, and we like DI'd into my computer, got the raw DI tracks, and went back to the studio at East Hall in May, and Turbo just laid down the drums to the metronome and the tracks that me and Trevor laid down. And after he laid those down, we re-amped them. So we like took the digital wave file and re-amped it through my amp, both of my amps, and a series of other amps to get this collective tone. Because re-amping is like my favorite technology when it comes to recording. You record digitally, and then play it back through your amp and dial in whatever tone you want.
Yeah.
You can play it back through any amp. And so we were able to mess around with a lot of tones. Our engineer, Logan West, is the best at...
Shout out to Logan West.
Shout out to Logan West. He's the man.
Yeah,
He's
East Hall Recording Studios.
Yeah, East Hall is the shit. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go anywhere else, honestly. And Chris is so nice, the owner of East Hall. Like, he's let it...
Terminus did recording out there, too, right?
Yeah, Terminus, I believe, recorded some songs down there. I think they record primarily in North Carolina, though.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, Chris is so nice. He's actually from here, too. He moved to Fayetteville after, I don't know, whenever. But he's from Harrison.
What's his last name?
I'm drunk, so I'm, like, lost it right now.
Shit, what is his last name?
I know his last name, dude. Fuck. I know your last name, Chris.
But anyway, the only thing that I would, it wasn't super difficult because like once he sent me, are you looking up his last name?
No, I'm using the bathroom.
Oh.
I'll take yours.
It's like, we're recording with you, but I forgot your last name.
Yeah.
The man with no last name.
I know his last name. I'm just drunk.
I feel like it starts with a G. I don't know. But, so like Nick took all this time to crunch out like how the tempo changes go and like the songs and stuff and then him and Trevor did like the guitar and bass. But every time I've ever like been in a studio situation or just even recording, it's like you lay down the drums first. Like you get the drums are like, that's your rhythm section. So you get that bassist down and then everything else falls into place. So he sent me all the tracks, and so like I just had to crunch it out and like just fucking memorize exactly how it was gonna go. And then so once we got in there, it wasn't super hard to do, but it was awkward to like just hear the guitar and bass and with the metronome just beating behind it. And it was, so there was a lot of times where it's like, okay, like Logan would stop me and he'd be like, okay, he's like, you're anticipating that, like, I know it goes 20 beats per minute faster than what it did, but like don't anticipate it. If anything, start off slower and then speed up.
Yeah.
But honestly, dude, I really like going with the metronome. Especially like an album, I feel like me as a drummer, I'm not that good with like keeping tempo because I'll get excited. And whenever I get excited, I want to go really fast.
Yeah, and a lot of drummers nowadays, they'll have a click in their ear like live.
We've thought about in-ears, but they're so freaking expensive.
Yeah, if you can do wireless, if it makes it sound good, and you had inner ears, you'd be set.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. By the way, too, I'm one of those people that I love, like, Neil Peart's a god to me, and I love those drummers that have huge kits. But what I noticed with you
is it Godwin?
Chris Moore. Chris Godwin's a fucking football player, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Bro, get on your fantasy stats, man.
But with you, I've noticed is that it's always weird for me because I grew up on that prog thing of like, Alex Van Halen, Neil Peart, like that huge ass drum kit with all these rack toms. Like, oh yeah. But I noticed with you is that you've got a really kind of small basic kit. But what I like about it is you utilize everything on it. And you play it like it's almost like it's a huge kit. And are you using a new kit, or are you still using that one with the squid on it?
Yeah, no, I've still got the squid. I have a new head for it that has a port because a lot of places that we go to, they'll like the sound engineer will come and like mic me up. And he's be like, "Where's your port at?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. I don't have one."
Oh man.
So like they do the best they can, and it usually sounds really good because like I've got super low tension on the resonant head, and then I've got super low tension on the batter head too. So it just, whenever you kick it, it's like that's obviously a kick. Like you can tell it's a heavy thing.
And you only have one crash cymbal, right?
Yeah, I've got a crash and I've got a ride.
You use the ride somewhat as crashes, I've noticed sometimes.
Yeah, it's a super heavy duty one. I think we got it from one of our old bass players.
Did we get it from Colton?
Yeah, I think so. Same with my double kick pedal. I got Iron Cobras.
Yeah. But you utilize it very well, and it's one of those things that I've seen that too with drummers with the basic setup. But we do, and you got it, double kick on there, right? Just the one single pedal.
Yeah. Well, the arm bar that goes across.
Yeah. Our drummer has the same kind of thing. But I always thought that was really cool. I always think it's funny. I think of that, and I think of the squid. I'm like. It's like, that's different. It's like, I thought it would be like a Salesman logo on it. No, it's just a fucking squid.
Yeah, just what we think is cool, man.
Yeah, we're going to have somebody else paint this other one for us.
We're calling you out. You know who you are.
But it's been a while, so I'm just going to, like, be like, hey, can I have that pack? Because, like, I got other people that can paint it. So
yeah.
You just, I don't want to just have, like, some plain stuff. And I don't know, I don't feel like a necessitation to like have the logo on there. I want something that's just fucking out there.
That'll pop. It's like Braun Daler. It's like he doesn't have the Mastodon logo. He has like I love it. He's got the polka dot Randy Rhoads drum kit.
Yeah,
it's like
cool.
What drummer has that? A guitar player on there, and then he's got like when we saw him live, he's got the big eyeball on there, and he's got the one with Rodney Dangerfield and Red Fox on there. I'm like, that is so cool. It's not a Mastodon logo. It's just weird logos, but they're really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. We have a banner, but we never put it up when we play.
Yeah, we got a free banner for playing somewhere in Oklahoma.
Rock the Equinox.
Rock the Equinox.
Rock the Equinox.
I think we got a sticker from it too. It's on the back of the van.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, we did.
It's always hard though. When I first discovered you guys, I kept calling you the salesmen. But then
it's
no,
a common
it's the
thing.
salesman.
Yeah, it's a common thing
that happens.
It's a common thing. We would be the salesmen, but there's already like 5 salesmen. Yeah. And when we made the salesman, we were the only ones at the time. And now there's some other guy named the salesman, and he's some acoustic guy. But I don't know.
See, that's the thing.
He must be good.
It's hard because I've always thought in my head that's a badass band name, and I'll go to Google, and there's always there. It's just like it's really hard to find a cool band name that somebody doesn't already have.
We're about to whenever we make a website, which is going to be pretty soon, it's going to be called thesalesmanjams.com because the Salesman band, I mean, like, sounds cool, but the Salesman Jams, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, well, Mastodon had to do that because
Mastodon rocks.
Yeah, Mastodon rocks because it's like you go to mastodon.com, it's a thing about freaking Mastodon, you know, and it's just like, no, Mastodon rocks, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, the Salesman Jams.
Salesman Jams.
And I've been putting a lot of thought into this lately. What I'm going to tell people from now on is we're called the Salesman because there's no money in music. Where our music is to hype our sales. We're trying to sell you T-shirts and we're trying to sell you physical copies of our music if you'll take it. But most people will just stream that shit.
Yeah.
We're trying to sell you merchandise.
I mean,
and so we're musicians, but at the end of the day, we're really just salesmen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing is it with bands and stuff is that back in the day, you know, albums sold and stuff. But nowadays with streaming and like that all started like with Napster and stuff like that.
Lars called it.
Yeah, what do bands make now? it's touring and merchandise.
Yeah.
Getting your products
and touring
out there.
is gone
and,
right now. It's
yeah, I know. And
bands.
you know, you had mentioned it and I didn't see the article, but you know, we've talked a lot about Mastodon. As you could tell, I'm a huge Mastodon fan. But I have
what can we do?
I have huge respect for Bill Kelleher, not only as a musician but as a person because he's a straight up dude. And you told me about that article about he said, you know, hey, you know, we're on unemployment and stuff like that because we're not making any money and stuff. And I actually read the article and it was saying that, you know, he was doing, you know, odd jobs and stuff. He was making extra money and stuff. And that, you know what? And I really respected that because I'm like, hey, he's honest about it because yeah, there's bands out there. There's probably bands and people that we don't know right now that are probably looking for to actually get a job.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like you got to have money coming in.
It's crazy.
And how much longer is this going to last? Me personally, you know, I like putting out music just for people to hear it. It'd be cool if one day, if like, you know, get on a tour with a band or something or do it for a living. But at the end of the day, you know, if something ever, God forbid, happened to me, I left something behind for people to enjoy. But it's more or less, it's like, hey, you know, because I've had those gigs where it's like, I love that song. You got that on CD or something or wherever? It's like, boom, there it is. It's online.
Yeah.
It's like now you can listen to it and you can tell your friends about it and stuff like that.
Playing live is the best way to spread the gospel of your band.
Oh, yeah. And then with all this stuff right here, it's like, yeah, now we got a full set of original music that we can play. Like, now with this, with both EPs and the Leadfoot stuff, we've got like over 20 songs of original music where me and our drummer Skip were talking about, it's like, now we can pick our set lists. So we go to a gig one night, it's like, let's play this set list. Let's play these songs. And then the next night, it's just like, all right, let's do that. Like, if we play a gig with you, all right, we're going to play the heavy proggy shit. And that's what we're going to do. So then I can sit there and I can like, all right, we're going to play that song. No, not that song, you know, kind of thing.
Dude, yeah, there's some gigs where I'm like, we're going to play the heavy songs tonight because we're playing with like super heavy metal bands and we still sound like a little rock band compared to them because they're like hardcore death metal, just, you know, crazy blast beating bands.
The cool thing is, though, is that it's kind of like with you guys, that reminds me of like us two as well, is that you guys are good enough that you can win over that crowd. Because we played with death metal bands and like stuff. Like we played a gig where it was Agents of Chaos and there was a few other bands, but they were more like screamo death metal stuff. And here we are, Leadfoot, a little hard rock band. But we went over so well because it was different. Because you kind of got to break that. Like if you have like three bands that are kind of the same, it's like, whoa, it's like just one after another was the same. But if you can get that one band that's kind of different, it's like, wow, that's refreshing. It's like it completely changed.
Yeah.
So
the first time I saw Mastodon, Russian Circles opened up like a heavy band.
Yeah.
And Eagles of Death Metal was the second band. Completely different. I mean, they're just polar opposites to the type of music that Russian Circles and Mastodon plays. It's like upbeat, happy songs about, you know, getting it on with girls and like, look at me.
And like you got like you had like all them witches opening and then Mastodon and then you had Primus.
Oh, dude, Primus was my spiritual advisor that night.
Yeah, and then I saw him when I saw him on the Crack the Sky tour. They had it was Every Time I Die was the opener, which was super heavy.
What? You saw Every Time I Die?
They were on that Unheavenly Sky tour. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah. You missed it. I told you about it. I'm like, dude, I got tickets. You gonna go? And you're like, no, man. I think you guys were on tour.
I think we were touring whenever they were playing.
But but every time I die, I opened the show, and then it was Mastodon, and then Coheed and Cambria.
Oh,
3 different bands like that. I'm like, it worked perfectly.
Yeah. Dude, Every Time I Die was on my number 5 in my Spotify year in review. Have you checked yours out?
The time capsule thing?
Yeah, where it shows you what you listened to this year?
Yeah, lots of Eminem.
Really?
Yeah.
You listen to Eminem?
Are you
I
gangsta, yo?
guess.
You gangsta?
I don't
Who's
remember.
using your Spotify? Is Aaron using it?
No, it's
weird.
online. It was a lot of Relapse, which I think is like his hardest album.
Yeah, Relapse is a good album. My number 1 song.
He's back on drugs, so it's fucking.
Yeah.
The album's called Relapse, but I was on drugs when I did it.
Yeah. Relapsed.
Yeah.
Fucking my number 1 song was T-Shirt by the Foo Fighters, and that's because that's my alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ticked me off because Foo Fighters was my number 3 listened to artist, and I was like, no way, like I'm not. That's my alarm, but I don't listen to Foo Fighters as much as I listen to my other, 5 or 4 bands that were on my top 5
But I'm
list.
sorry that I've seen Every Time I Die before you did.
That's okay, dude. That's okay.
They were killer though, and actually they did Blood and Thunder. They did it kind of at the end, like they were kind of like waiting and stuff, and it's just like the guy started going. He's like, no, but of course Mastodon didn't, play it that night. But I was telling him earlier before we started this, it's always funny because like when I know you guys are going to a concert, I always see you there, and like kind of when we saw me, Nathan, and Skip all went and saw Metallica at Little Rock, and you were there, but I didn't realize how close you were to us because we were halfway through the show. I looked behind me, and like a couple rows up and over, I see just a mop of hair. I'm like, wait a minute, and I'm like standing up. I'm like, oh shit, that's Nick.
Man, I pissed off the guy next to me because I was like paying my dues to Metallica. I was headbanging like a motherfucker.
I don't think I stopped headbanging at that one.
Yeah, I was paying my dues. We were paying our dues.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me got up and stood in the aisle because I was fucking whiplash. My hair was getting in his face.
Whiplash. I got a whiplash when it's whiplash. Damn it.
Yeah.
What the hell? And
whatever,
then,
man. I was fucking showing them respect.
And then I saw you guys at Exit 111. I remember coming out, seeing you, but this guy here, I'm at the rail. Yeah, this
doing?
He told me about it before the podcast started, and I wanted to be like, dude, I don't fucking remember.
Yeah,
The festival's kind of a blur,
yeah.
man.
This guy right here is that I was at the front of the rail, and I was just like, because I was on Bill's side. I'm like, they had I think it was called Screaming for Sirens or something like that, or Sleeping with Sirens. It was some emo band. But
It's a good description for it.
I was there because I knew whenever they were done, I got to the front of the rail because I'm like, I got to see Mastodon up close, and I got on Bill's side because I'm like, I got to see the Heavenly Riff Master in front of me.
I was so happy they played the Czar that night.
Yes, but that's the point is that I'm sitting there watching the Czar, and here comes Brent's solo in there, and it's beautiful solo and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, and I look over, and there's Turbo. And he's like right in the middle of all the people, and he's just like watching Brent, just like, whoa, I'm like, that's Turbo.
I was
like,
doing the same
shit.
thing. I feel you though.
Yeah.
I was late. He left to go see Mastodon before me because I was watching Ghost, and Ghost put on such a good show.
I've never
really
seen them,
good.
but man, I've seen videos, and that was the thing is that I would have went and seen Ghost, but as soon as Gojira was done, I headed to the stage because I'm like, if I would have waited, I wouldn't have got to the front.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, that's true. That's very true.
ooh, Ghost. Speaking of that, one of my favorite songs in them is Miasma.
Oh yeah.
That instrumental. And it was weird
That's a
because
really good one.
when I first heard it, like it was weird for me because it's like they were kind of like he's playing off the satanic lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, yeah. But what was cool is like, oh, it reminds me of like old school classic rock, like
That's all it is.
That Surrey album, like Majesty, and all that. I'm like, oh, it's like old school.
Majesty's my favorite song off of that album.
Yeah, and he is, and then they got really kind of poppy disco on the last one, like Rats and stuff like that.
Oh, dude, you should hear their what's it, the 7 inches of Satanic Panic?
Yeah,
Oh,
the two songs.
Yeah, the little the EP they did or the single.
Oh, I gotta check that one out.
What's the one?
I love
about
from
the
the
goats?
pinnacle to
Yeah,
the
Kiss
pit.
the Go-Goat.
The Kiss the Go-Goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like I say, like for all those people that hate on I almost said Rush. All those people
If
that hate on
anybody hates
Ghost,
on Rush, we're gonna get in a fight.
they're fucking wrong. All those people that hate on Ghost, they just don't understand. Ghost isn't a metal band. They're like a rock band with like a classic rock sound who sing songs about the devil. Like they just want to. They're not pussies like you other fucking metal bands screaming songs about the devil. They want you to know what they're saying.
Yeah, very melodic.
I'm just kidding. Those
But
guys
no,
aren't
it's
pussies.
just it's kind of like they brought back an old school vibe. Like it's like Iron Maiden theatrical. You get a visual, but also they went back old school. Like I said, like Majesty. That's like a kind of a deep purplish kind of thing. That riff and that
the
organ.
chorus
with
of
it.
that, man. The no one master.
And like from the pinnacle to the pit. I mean, like that album. The thing that stood him out was the bass that he was doing, the tones and stuff. But like, yeah, from the pinnacle to the pit. He is and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's very kind of theatrical, but that was the only letdown that I had was that I was dead set on seeing Mastodon that I didn't see Ghost, but I was so happy to see Gojira because the thing is, if you love Gojira, you will appreciate them more when you see it live because holy shit, they
that
were
was great.
Killer.
That was
Alien Weaponry, that young kid band, I saw that when I first walked in. They were really good.
my second time seeing them, and I actually met their guitar player.
Yeah.
Walking over to Mastodon.
Yeah, he was at Mastodon. He was like macking on this girl, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "What? This guy was on stage earlier today." So I walk up to him, and I was like, "Hey, man, good set." And he's like fucking younger than me, and he was like, "Yeah, thanks, dude." And then he just like went back to macking on whatever girl he was trying to.
Yeah.
Chances
I
are.
I don't blame him, dude. The kid's like 18 years old. He needs to go out there and slay as much tang as he can. I saw them open up for Black Dahlia Murder and Black Label Society, though.
Oh yeah,
That was a
I kind
very
of hated
good
I
show.
didn't because I've always wanted to see Black Label, and I was like, damn it, I didn't get to see that.
Man,
show.
it was
Wow,
great.
wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
I fucking
Scalebone.
Man, yeah, dude, like
In
that was
this
one of the
river.
things that really bummed me out about Exit 111. Exit 111, I was like, basically, to put it lightly, I was like having a conversation with God, and Black Label
Yeah.
Society was on, and it just like really bummed me out because I saw them like the month before, and I was like, that was really good. But then as I was like really analyzing their songs, I was like, they just played the same song 15 times.
Yeah, and
I'm not like shitting on them. They're
Yeah.
all really good. But like, I don't know. I like had this epiphany, like, wow, holy shit! Like they follow the same structure for every song, but Zakk Wylde has a killer voice, and he's one of the world's greatest guitar players. Like when I saw him in Fayetteville, I was completely blown away. He came out into the crowd playing a guitar solo behind his back,
yeah,
and I was like, me to you from him maybe, with like a bunch of people in between. But it was fucking cool just to see a guitar legend like that, someone who had played on some iconic Ozzy albums. Really the only guitar player from Ozzy to really capture that Randy Rhoads spirit. I mean, Jakey Lee was great.
Yeah.
But Zakk is the shit.
I mean, No More Tears. I mean, that album is just tone-wise and everything. It's just great.
Yeah.
You're talking about like that interaction. It's funny you're talking about Exit 111. You met that kid in Wayport. Like when I was walking in, you see all the buses and stuff. There was a little opening, and I saw Joe Duplanter from Gojira.
Oh,
and I was like, man, I'd run over there, flying wheels. Just do that. And then, but what I thought was cool, like when I was watching Mastodon, and I was up at the rail, was Bill. There was times he was like eye contact kind of thing.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
and I was like, riff master, like if I shake your hand, I hope I get some of that riff magic.
Dude.
And what is yeah that
I told you that story. Well, the first time I saw Mastodon, Bill gave me a fist bump.
Oh, nice! You're like, yes,
Yeah.
I got riff magic
were
on my
front
fist
row,
now.
man. Yeah, we were front row, and they just got done playing Blade Catcher, and they were doing like a crazy, like just like letting it ring outro, and he was coming along giving everybody knuckles, and he gave me knuckles, and I was like, ah!
Yeah. What the cool thing is I'm part of a Mastodon fan club that he's actually a part of. Like he's one of those guys that he actually interacts with his fans. And so I posted some stuff on there, and like, and he actually commented. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen that video they did 2 minutes to late night?
Oh yeah, I watch a lot.
It was Bill, Les Claypool, Danny Carey, and Claudio doing Anthem by Rush.
Yeah.
And I actually shared it to that group, and I was like, man, I said I'm a huge Rush fan, and they killed it. And Bill Kelleher solo was awesome, and he commented, he goes, thanks, bro. And I was like, that's cool that like a musician, it's not like, because some musicians that are high profile, they don't have anybody, they're not running their own account. Somebody else is running it for him. But Bill's on there actually interacting with fans and keeping people up to date and stuff like that. He was doing on the Mastodon page and stuff riff of the day.
Yeah, during the early stages of quarantine.
Yes, like dude, he did This Mortal Soil, and I freaked. I'm like, yes! I said more Blood Mountain riffs, please.
Dude, Blood Mountain is my favorite. It's the perfect cross between old and new Mastodon.
What's your favorite Mastodon album?
It's Crack the Sky. My favorite Mastodon song though is Hearts Alive. I love
Hearts
that.
Alive's
It's epic and it's great. And like I said, I threw some Mastodon influence, like you're talking about Blood Mountain, is that on Storm the Gate, after it does that bass solo, because you've heard it, I do that. Listen to Hand of Stone, and right before the chorus comes in, they go into a syncopated riff that I would hear, and I was like, it's not exactly like that, but I kind of like took a little influence. It's like, do a syncopated walk up, walk down kind of riff, and then I watched Live at the Aragon. That's a great video. They did Where Strides the Behemoth, and when they start doing that, and they do that where he's riding on that crash cymbal, and all the people are head making. I got skipped to do that on that song on Beast in the middle section of Breakdown. I kind of took that as a template, like kind of a Where Strides the Behemoth, like groove riff where he's riding on that cymbal, and it's like, I was like, so I'm throwing a little bit of Mastodon influence in there and everything, because like I said, that was like an epiphany as far as when I saw you guys. I wanted to get kind of the prog in there, and then like watching Sound Pilot. I remember going up to Curtis and it's like, hey, what tuning you're in? Because we played in standard. And he goes, oh, we're dropped down a whole step. And then that was kind of revelation. And then we went next practice. Hey, it's tuned down. It's like, oh, God, this sounds amazing. Holy shit. And then like with you, Sound Pilot, and then like Mastodon on Gojira and stuff like that, that's when I became the dude of – because I used to be a shredder. I used to be that kid that would shred all the time, like Joe Satriani. It's like always instrumental, shredding all over the place. But then I got older and listened to these heavier bands. I'm more of like a riff guy now. It's just like I'll construct my solos, but me, I really get off of writing cool riffs. Dude. Because what's the one thing that always catches your ear in a song?
It's the riff.
It's the riff.
It's the
so
riff.
If you can write a good riff, it'll draw all those people in. And then you've got the bed tracks of the bass and the drums. And it's like, and then you've got the guitar ear candy, and then you got the solo cherry on the top.
Yeah.
I'm like
It's
actually
right
I'm actually a fraud lead guitar player. Like I'm
fraud.
I'm actually a fraud.
That's a thing. A fraud.
I'm
lead
a fraud lead
player?
guitar player. I'm a rhythm guitar player that's forced to play lead.
So if there's a second guitar player, you'd be like the Bill Kelleher. You'd be the rhythm, holding down the rhythm.
If they could play, like they'd have to play more interesting leads than I can come up with, which isn't not hard to come up with.
Yeah.
It's just I'm a fraud lead guitar player. I need to do more scales and things like that. And I find myself, I've been really practicing scales lately, but really when I pick up guitar, a lot of people say it's a bad thing, but I just fucking write riffs when I pick up a guitar. I doodle around and I write riffs, and people are like, you need to practice scales and you need to practice things, and I'm like, I like writing riffs.
Well, that's the thing, though, is it's like me, I'll pick up, and the first thing I'll start doing is like noodle shop. I'll start kind of noodling, get my finger warmed up, and then I'll start riffing out. And people ask me, because like there's some stuff I've written, they're like, music theory. Honestly, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know music theory.
Yeah,
I know
fuck
parts.
all that.
I know a little bit of stuff, but me, it's more or less my ear and what I hear.
So it sounds good.
And some people try to break that down. I'm like, I'll try, but
Trevor's more of our theory guy.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, like I don't know what I'm playing. I kind of have an idea. Like I know the notes on the guitar. I know that like, ooh, 5th fret E string. That's A. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can figure out like harmonies. Like I can figure out thirds and fifths from that and shit
Thirds
like that.
I learned like, and it helps with YouTube with some videos because some people will tell you like, what you're like. Yeah, thirds.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's what I've been doing.
I mean, I have been. Yeah, I'm on it tonight. Anyways, I have been for like the past week really practicing scales for at least 2 episodes of Star Wars Clone Wars. I put that on and I practice one scale for like those 2 episodes, and I'll do it all up and down the neck. And I'm just trying to up my scale game because like I like my leads in our new album, but at the same time I'm like, damn, I wish I knew more scales so I can make like wacky shit. And I don't necessarily follow the pentatonic to the teeth, but it's every guitar player who plays rock and roll. Pentatonic is fucking drilled in their brain.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to break up with the pentatonic scale. Like, I'm done.
Yeah,
Like-
I learned it at a quick. Well, when I was playing, I would always do improvising. So, and I'll still do that. But like when I started recording music, I started writing out my guitar solos. On this one right here, the only thing that was on there that was improvised was the Outlaw, because that's a short and sweet to the point song, and that's always like improvised. But like Conquest, that was all arranged. The solo in Beast and Storm the Gate, harmony stuff, that's all arranged. And I love doing that because sometimes I'll write a really complex guitar solo, and then I look at it as a great challenge when I play it live. Yeah. Like the one that always gets me is Stand Your Ground, because it's very kind of 80s neoclassical shred. And then I'm like, okay, you're going to nail it tonight? Are you going to get it? Oh, you were close. And then, but when I do nail it, then I'm like, yes, I feel good. And then also you get those memorable solos but then you'll get in a thing where people like, I know that solo very well. I'm watching you. You better play it right.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, it's like watching Rush or Mastodon. You know that solo's coming up.
Shit.
And you're like the Czar, it's like, you better play that. That's what you were doing. You're like letting Brent like, play it right. Play it right.
Dude, when it comes to Dirty Behinds or any band I see live, I want them to do whatever. Like, I honestly, like...
Sometimes shoot from the hip.
I
awesome.
prefer it whenever I see a band and they improvise. Like, whenever I saw Slash in 2012, I was front row.
Oh, he improvised a lot.
Yeah, dude. Like, whenever they played pretty much all of Appetite, Miles Kennedy was a singer. And I remember they were playing Rocket Queen. And he just jammed during the midsection of Rocket Queen for like 10 or 15 minutes. And while that happened, I was front row and there's a fight going on behind me. And I would turn around and see the fight. And like Slash, he was like right center stage where we were at. And he was like looking at the fight too and just not even looking, just jamming and shredding and just fuck him. He was like just as interested in the fight as we were.
Yeah. I got $20 on
I was interested, but mostly for my safety because like it was happening very close. And if like somebody was to hit me in the head on accident, I'd be damn hot.
Oh,
fighting time!
You want to talk about you want to talk about something that sucked? I was at Iron Maiden the first time I saw them. It was on the Made in England tour where they played a lot of the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son album.
Oh, nice!
And I was in the crowd, and see, here's the thing: was I forgot that on that tour Megadeth was opening, and I wasn't a huge Megadeth fan at the time.
What?
But yeah, I know I kind of regret it. But Megadeth was playing. And they're launching into Holy Wars and stuff like that. I mean, it's mosh pit central. And I'm right in the middle of it when I'm like realizing, oh, Sean, you should have known it's Megadeth, thrash metal. They're going to mosh and stuff. And Iron Maiden came on it and launching in 2 minutes to midnight. I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, I feel a thunk right on the top of my head. And I look, I got beer, it spills all over me. Somebody somehow, because they all had solo cups, somebody got a glass beer bottle in there. I don't know, they snuck it in or whatever, but I got hit over the head with a glass beer bottle. Somebody threw it. The lucky thing is it hit my head, and I was wearing a hat like this, and it didn't bust.
Wow.
So it all speared all over me over this one and this other guy next to me, and we kind of looked at each other and we're like, yeah, you know, it's like this. I was like, I'm not going to get mad about it because what am I going to do? But I told people, I said, man, if that busted over my head, I'll be sitting there bleeding like, I'm going to get a blood transfusion later, but I ain't leaving.
Man, fucking one of my biggest regrets in life, in all of my 24 years of existence, one of my biggest regrets is whenever we saw Guns N' Roses in 2017 and Sturgill Simpson opened up for him, and we were late and fucking missed Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah, well, that time we didn't realize.
We didn't even know who Sturgill Simpson was.
Yeah.
But Sturgill Simpson over time has, like, this year, he wasn't on my Spotify top 5. But he should have been. God damn it.
He's on my Spotify time capsule.
Really? Well, I bet he took the spot that the fucking Foo Fighters took, which is great. I love the Foo Fighters, but they're my alarm every day. No offense, Foos. I've been listening to Sturgill more this year.
Dave Grohl's going to look at this and
have
be
you
like,
heard
this
of
motherfucker
I fucking love you. I listen to you every morning when I wake up, Dave.
This motherfucker right here.
Yeah. Did you, have you heard of a band called Humphrey McGee?
I have not.
Talked to Dalton from Jag Nasty. He let me listen to a few tracks, and it's like really like complex instrumental fusion stuff. It's like really weird, but it's like these guys are like straight up legit musicians. By the way, because we've been talking about like music concerts and local music, people, listen to me right now. Jag Nasty last month released their second album, Ozark. It is incredible. Go on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. They got CDs if you're local. Get one from either Dalton, Chris, anybody that is in that band, Tony. But man, I don't know if you've heard that album, but it is killer. Dude. The song you got to hear is called Fires. And that's the thing I love. If you've watched him and listened to him, is that I told Dalton, I said, man, I said, you guys like remind me of like Led Zeppelin meets Bad Company with a little bit of Floyd mixed in.
Hell
but
yeah.
listen to their second album if you haven't, called Ozark.
They're one of my favorite live bands.
Great.
In the
Yes,
area.
and then all right, so I'm a huge. I beat the drum for local music. Sound Pilot, they are awesome. They are actually, I don't know if they're about to finish it, but they've been hard at work on their new album with a guy that used to be in your guys' band.
Kylan Braden,
Yes.
fucking guitar lord.
Yeah, exactly.
He is a shred master.
Agents, Danny, I think, told me not too long ago they're working on some new material.
Give me 1, 2, please.
And I don't know if they're coming back out with their first album, but they've got that. Who else? I'm trying to think of another. Southern Confession actually just came out with a new music video that they just posted on Facebook. Go check out Southern Confession.
Hell yeah.
Shane Quinzer, he's been doing a solo stuff and been writing and stuff like that.
Good
I don't know
for
if
Shane.
he's
Good
recording.
for him.
What happened to
White Fox?
Kill?
I think
Yeah.
he's doing more solo stuff now because I think I don't know about White Fox. All I know is it's kind of solo based now.
Yeah.
He might resurrect it. I'm not sure. Leadfoot at the moment, we're still playing. It's just with COVID and stuff, and we're taking December off, but we're going to reconvene in January and rehearse.
Yeah.
Because we've got this to work with. We've got all the other stuff. Let's see. Sound Pilot, we covered that. Let's see here. Yeah, Agents. Trying to think of other local. Ooh, Terminus. They have been on work for quite a while on their new album. Of course, they're kind of secretive. Like I'm looking on their page, like any studio updates. It's like, no, damn it.
Yeah, that's
Bones of the Earth. That's what I'm looking forward to because you told me about them and I bought their first album on iTunes and I loved it, man. It was like I played that like for a whole week.
Dude,
like that's all I listened to.
They're not only are they like great guys, but they're fantastic musicians.
That first album sounds awesome,
dude. And their second album, I mean the single that I've heard, and I've seen 2 of their songs live for the second album.
Yeah.
I don't remember which I saw because it was so long ago. It was back when shows were a thing. Ooh.
Yeah.
And
I remember shows.
I remember they told me before the show, either like, I think Eric told me, he was like, we're gonna play 2 new songs at the beginning of the set. That's gonna be on Bones 2, and I was like, oh man. And they did the same intro that they do for Bones 1, and I was like, wait a second, guys.
wait a second.
Yeah. And then they broke into new shit.
Hold up a minute here.
I was like, what? And then they broke off into new shit, and it was fucking awesome. I can tell you right now, from the 2 songs I heard live and the single that I've heard, Bones 2 will be kick-ass. Like,
nice.
Rafe, their bass player, and one of their vocalists, he's opened up a new studio called Holy Anvil Recording.
I saw that,
based out of Huntsville Road Studios in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Rafe he's the shit, dude. Rafe really knows how to fucking be a really good audio engineer. He's made the quality, not saying the quality of the last Bones album was bad, but the quality of the new Bones that's coming out is just steps above the last Bones.
See, and that's
he's just learned a lot. I mean, that's just through time you learn more about your craft. And
and that's exactly what happened with this. Was that it took 4 albums to where I found the kind of sound. It's like I think I captured what I was kind of striving for, but also what helped too on this. I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about it, but I have 3 songs with guitar, bass, and drums. I double tracked my guitars. I played the rhythm tracks with Skip on my Explorer, and then when we were done, I went back and I got my Les Paul. Because they have kind of different tones, even though they're Gibsons. I double tracked, and that really helped out the sound. So that was kind of cool.
I always double track.
Yeah. The other ones I single tracked because we were doing live, but the double tracking really helped. But that's the thing, and like what you said was, I can listen to Walking On, and I've already heard your demos, what you have so far from yours, and you've already said it's like the next one's going to be sounding even better. And that's the thing. Yeah, you learn stuff along the way where it's just like, and it's like each album sounds different, but it's better as it's getting there. Yeah.
It's honestly like, I mean, I recorded a Walking On, and our engineer Logan West did the mixing and mastering, and he did a phenomenal job. He took this home recording that I did, and he made it something. And what we're doing at East Hall right now, the gear that Chris Moore has there at East Hall that we've been able to record with,
Smorgasbord of awesome gear.
Yeah, it's made us sound just better than we've ever sounded, and I'm excited to hear what it's going to turn out to be. We don't have our masters or anything yet, and it's really because like we're really taking our time with the mixes. We're tweaking out.
Yeah,
things.
but you let me hear 2 songs, and like I said, I was thoroughly impressed.
If you want to, I'll show you the next version mix of those same 2 songs.
Yeah, see, be jealous, people. I get to listen to it before you guys do.
We're on the 3rd version.
Third
of
mix.
the
Yeah,
mixes.
you heard mix version 2 last time.
Oh.
And
I'll show you mix version 3 if you're interested.
It's
nice.
For real.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's surprisingly.
But listening to
you know.
it, man, like performance-wise, it was great. Your drums sound amazing. What really stood out to
mics,
me,
man.
yeah,
It doesn't matter how you play it. There's 24
Like,
mics
freaking,
on
it
it.
looked like a spaceship, man. Yeah, and then your vocal harmonies. That was what was really cool. What was intriguing to me was how you kind of approached your harmonies, and then like the different changes. Like I don't know the name, but you played kind of. You played the one that was kind of more the rock oriented, that kind of had the heavy stuff, but it had the harmonies in it. I don't know the name, and you.
It's okay. We don't know either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, it was impressive. Like I'm sitting there like grooving, and I was sitting there in the passenger seat with your Epiphone SG sitting in my lap, you know, just like crunched up. But I'm like sitting there listening to it, and I was like, oh yeah, whoa, oh, it changed. Ooh, okay, nice. Ooh, that was really nice. Oh wait, what the hell was that? Oh yeah, back to that riff again. Yeah. So like it's a roller coaster is what it was.
That Epiphone that you were holding was used to be my double track on that.
Yeah.
I double tracked with that guitar, and I'm an idiot when I record because we're 3-piece, and so when I first record, I play like all the leads and shit too, and then I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I gotta make a rhythm to that. Like I should have made a rhythm first.
That's all. That's what. Yeah. That's what we did. We just played it all rhythm track, and then I go back in and I would do the guitar solos. But it's cool when you get a couple guitars and they sound different, and then you double track, because that's how this made it sound so good. Is like the Gibson's got really good low end to it, the Les Paul, and then the Explorer's got some good high end. But combining it together, I remember the engineer was like, he doesn't have a Marshall, and he was like, damn it, I need to get a damn Marshall. And like we took a break, and he plugged in his guitar to my head, and he started playing, and he's like, fuck. I was like, yeah, I know, man. It's like it's a heavy
Get
beast.
those Marshall tones, dude. And
yeah.
Honestly, I started getting Marshall because of all the people I loved growing up played on Marshalls.
And you got the Randall those too, right?
Yeah, I got the Randall too. The Randall was honestly just to get away. Like, okay, so I had 2 Marshalls before then, and I was like, okay, I'm really trying to tone blend here.
Yeah.
So having 2 amps from the same make, while they sound different, I'm not getting the best tone blend I could probably get. And the Marshall that I traded for that is the best fucking solid state Marshall I'd ever had. It technically wasn't full solid state. It was a trans tube.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Marshall fucking JVT. Was it a 100? Yeah, JVT 100, or maybe was it JVT? I don't know. It was trans tube.
AVX, is that a thing?
AVT maybe.
AVT. There we
Marshall
go.
AVT 100H, and it has a tube preamp, but everything else is solid state.
Gotcha. AVX is a vintage 7.4.
Yeah. Jesus had plans for Jesus. Fucking anyways, yeah, so like both of my amps had similar tones. I didn't want that.
Is the tone almost easy?
So no, it wasn't easy. I mean,
he got it.
It took me a second there.
Hail to the king.
You could say I was blinded in chains.
Yeah. Was it a nightmare?
Okay, we're done. We can stop with
We're
that.
fucking done. No more of his sevenfold references.
I bet it sounds good on the stage.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
But yeah,
amp.
You'll be
I
waking
didn't
the phone
even
with
intend
that
on getting the
tone.
amp.
Oh my God.
I didn't even intend on getting the amp. I fucking went to Guitar Center, and they had the amp there, and I was like, holy shit, that's $250. And I went home, and I played on the amp, the fucking Randall RD20, and it's a gain machine. Like, it's fucking, it's got really good gain in it, really good low end.
Yeah.
And went home, I grabbed my AVT and said goodbye, and I grabbed a LTD King V style body guitar that Turbo had gotten me. It was like on sale for $100 one time, and he owed me $100, so he got me the guitar instead. It was the best.
He owed you $100.
Yeah, but like I mean, while I really like that V, I didn't play it as much. The pickups, I just didn't like the pickups. Honestly, all in all, I could have changed the pickups and really used that guitar a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't regret trading it for the amp that I have that's backup because it's the way I blend my tone is I don't really go super ham on the gain on my Marshall. My Marshall's kind of my rock and roll machine, and my Randall is kind of my heavy metal low end distortion machine.
That's what he used was Randall's.
Yeah, but he uses Randall solid state up until reinventing the steel.
Yeah.
Then he switched to tube, but I'm like out of that solid state phase. Like I'll never use. The only solid state I would maybe use would be like a Kemper profiler, and even when you
play with tubes. Oh, it sounds so good.
It's just, it does. And there's no better distortion than the natural breakup of your tube distortion. Like, I'm not even into, like, distortion pedals. People are like, oh, you need to try the distortion pedal. Like, no, dude, I'll use, like, an overdrive for my solos.
Right,
but, like,
maybe a Fender or maybe an Ibanez Tube Screamer. But
I tried Tube Screamer. I really didn't like it. So I switched to the full-tone OCD. And, I mean, I've used the OCD on, like, every recorded guitar solo since Walking On. Like, it's the OCD is using. It's in use. And it's my go-to. I just didn't like the Tube Screamer. Something about it. I didn't like the way it changed my tone. But the OCD, it felt like it complemented my tone. And it's not, not saying everybody get OCD. It's your own taste. But it's, man. And it's taken a while. And I've honestly got so many more ideas. Like the Randall is not the last. It's not the final step in my quest for tone.
Well, neither is the Marshall either.
Neither is the Marshall, yeah.
But you've got to follow in the footsteps of giants.
Oh!
I got a salesman pun in there. Yeah!
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Fucking footsteps of
Yeah,
giants.
it's just like you got to get that guitar sphere.
Oh my god. That was pushing it.
Well, when you play that heavy with that Randall and that Marshall combined, everyone, it's just they awake.
You're good at
now,
this.
let me tell you, do you know what a Walknon stands for?
Awaken?
They awake.
Yeah.
It means they awake in Welsh. Why do we choose Welsh? Because it looked cool.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it's cool about your band is that sometimes you like to tread on uncommon ground. I want to ask you, because I listened to this. It came on my, there's a bunch of salesman puns here with their titles. I'm good at this. I like to do that. You know what I hate the most is that my drummer likes to make fun of my titles and actually change them. He changed the outlaw to the in-law.
The in-law.
I'm the in-law. I'm coming to your house. I'm the in-law. Eat your food and leave. And then the best one, though, he came up was Starfighter. Changed it to Barfighter. Barfighter. Gonna punch you in the face, bar fighter. Get out of here! He's tearing up the place. Yeah, so he likes to throw that in there and do
that place.
And then I like to throw I like to do that. I like to throw the puns in there, like it's just like it's a hand and hoof kind of thing. There you go.
Oh man,
yeah.
We our rehearsal, we definitely do a lot of fuckery.
Yeah,
we do. Our favorite thing to do, rehearsal wise, is fuck around with our own songs and sing them the way they're not supposed to be sang. Like sometimes we'll sing them like Axl Rose. Sometimes sometimes we'll just do whatever. I don't know. I mean, on the spot I can't think of it, but we fuck around a lot in rehearsal time.
Yeah.
I've almost thought about breaking out some of our fuckery during a live show, but I'm like, no, they'll fucking hate me forever because there's this thing we do at Mike Tyson.
You guys ever have sea dreams when you're playing?
But whenever we practice Mike Tyson, like maybe 1 out of 20 times I'd say 1 out of like 100 times we play rehearsal wise, I'll break it into like a fucking like a ska thing, like or not like after the solo, maybe not even ska, but it's just like more laid back where I go like instead of now, I'll go really slow because I kind of have control right there because everyone else has stopped, so I'll be like
now, there's a lot
I like to fuck around with it.
Oh, God,
does a lot of your music go in minor, or is it Ursa Major?
Everything not everything, but we play a lot of shit in minor because we play flat.
We're half step down.
We're half step down. We're probably one of the only metal bands in the Northwest Arkansas area that play a half step down and not a full step or lower.
It's super easy to.
Alice in Chains does a lot of half steps.
That's one of the reasons why we like that is because Alice in Chains and Guns N' Roses, some of our favorite bands growing up, played a half step down.
Yeah, and I did that at one point. Like I did a cover of The Man in the Box. And that's what I realized, like that it was just a half step down.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was like after seeing Sound Pilot, and I asked Curtis, I said, "What tune do you use?" Like, we're a whole step down. And then I got down to whole step down where it was D standard. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But then when I got tuned that down, is what it dropped C. I'm like, oh, it's on now.
You were down in a hole.
Yeah.
I had to get one in.
That's a good one. I like that.
If you had to do it again, would?
Well, you know, you got to, because you got to, dude, because hey, you got to, because we die young.
Oh fuck! I'm so sorry, listeners. Yeah. We're getting fucking stupid.
We're
with
getting
this
funny over here is what we're doing.
I do like the. It's not a pun. I'm not setting up for a pun right now.
I'm waiting for it.
Really trying to divert from the puns right now. The fact that because we play half step down. Whenever we go into like how are we gonna do this harmony or like what sounds good like whenever we sing it, whenever you hit the piano, we like to sing with the piano track. So like we'll make a scratch track for a piano, and it's super easy because it's like if you know the flat scales or the sharp scales, then it's a lot easier to look at the piano and just be able to like click it. And it's like that's
playing mostly on the black keys.
I said at the beginning of this, at the end of it's going to get really weird.
Dude, that's how podcasts get, you know.
Talking about guitars, though, I mentioned this to you before, is that you and that daggum Epiphone Explorer of yours, I remember watching you first live, and I'm like, oh, shit, I need to explore. It was you and Bill Kelleher, because I watched Mastodon. He's wielding his Explorer.
Do you hear that, Gibson?
Yeah. And then watching you, and then luckily enough, a Gibson found its way. It walked its way into Guitar Smith's. The kid that actually owned it messaged me the night before, and he's like, "Dude, I know you're looking for an Explorer. I'm gonna sell mine, and here's the price." I'm like, "Dude, I'm kind of looking for a house, so no, I appreciate it though." And I stayed up that whole night. Because I knew what he was going to do. He was going to take it to Guitar Smith's. And I always told Jim and Philip out there, I said, if there's ever an Explorer that walks through this door, you call me immediately. Guess what happened? Jim Smith calls me and leaves me a voicemail. Dude, you're not going to guess what's going to walk in here. And I called him. I was like, I know exactly why you called. So I went down to Guitar Smith's the next day. And there it is. It's on the wall. And I'm like, all right, I picked it up and I played it and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, but I'm trying to save up for a house. So, and it was like, I think it was like, I paid it for like $1,200 or $1,300 for it. But I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I stayed up the whole that night, debating it. This was a Friday night. Saturday morning, I got up, I got to the bank, I got all the money out of my account, and I got there like 30 minutes before Guitar Smith's open. Philip pulls up. He sees me, and he starts laughing.
Man.
He's like, me and Jim, we knew immediately when you left. He goes, he's going to be back here tomorrow morning for it. And you know what? It was so cool because I love the guitar. It's an awesome guitar. We played a show, and this guy was drunk out, and I pulled out the guitar, and he's like, that's the Metallica guitar right there. And then Aaron Dowd from Sound Pilot, he's like, oh, is it Sean Hetfield or James Bing? You know, kind of thing, whatever. You know, it's just like, and then I've got this going on now. I'm like, oh, you know, it's like, okay, I guess, yeah, all right, let's do Enter Sandman, yeah, kind of thing. But yeah, seeing you, and then Bill Kelleher, I'm like, I gotta get me an Explorer.
Dude, I know I've been playing Explorer for like years.
You've had that for a long time.
It's my baby. It's my baby.
Did you get that as a gift?
Yeah, I've never bought a guitar. Fun fact, I've never bought a guitar. All of them have been gifts.
Yeah, it is nice to buy one though, like that Les Paul. I bought that. It was my very first guitar I bought.
I'd rather peer pressure my friends and family during the holidays.
Well, hey, you know what? Yeah. Here's the thing. Nowadays, do that.
I'm like, look, you don't have to get me a gift. Just pull a guitar, like pull together for one guitar.
How many drum sets have you owned?
This is my second drum set, and I did not pay for that drum set.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have a new kit or you still have the squid?
Oh no, it's still the squid. It's a Gretsch Catalina maple.
Okay.
Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah, Catalina fucking wine mixer.
Did you guys see the one that Dalton had out there? That new kit he had?
I
don't know if I
so,
took
but
notice to his kit much,
yeah.
but I'm not a drummer.
Yeah, it looked really nice. But so, is the new kit here?
Yeah. It's
after this
it's in the
podcast, I
room
gotta
over
check
there.
it out.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've had it for a while now. The first kit that I had was like your standard edition, like Ludwig, like $300 for the shells type of kit. Super cheap. Bought it at Guitar Smiths. Well, my mom did because I was like
You were
15 or 16.
We were teenagers.
But she bought it, and the guy who had it last took off all the paint. He stripped the paint off of it, and he put like this like pleather type of stuff around it. So it was like
black.
soft to the touch. It was cool. It was interesting.
Pretty good kit.
Yeah, and I had that for a long time, and I never had any intention of buying another kit because I'm a real cheap ass whenever it comes to things. So I'm like, it's like, this is a kit. It works. The snare drum that I have is the same snare drum that I've had since the 6th grade whenever I first started percussion.
Is this one more loud or is it more quietus?
This motherfucker
Yeah,
right
I'm
here.
gonna say another fun. Yeah, see, that's gonna stuck. Like I said, I'm good at that stuff. I like to throw that stuff in there.
I was trying to think of it while you guys were talking, like, what can I say? And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
I stopped one of the cameras before it ran out of memory, and the other one is still rolling. How long have we been talking?
2 hours, man.
Wow, nice.
2 hours and 2 hours and 31 seconds.
Yeah. So, Turbo. Okay, number one. How'd you get that nickname, Turbo?
It's not a super interesting story. Most of the time, I try to tell people that I got the nickname Turbo because of the movie Turbo the Snail from like Pixar or whatever. And what I say is like I pitched the idea to the studio to have that movie made. So that was my nickname. Sometimes I tell people, they'll be like, "Is your name really Turbo?" Because I used to work at McDonald's, and my name tag said Turbo on it, and everybody in McDonald's knew me by Turbo. So people would be like, "Is that your real name?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my mom was kind of a hippie." Like that's what I would say all the time. But it was actually like, Nick and I have been friends since forever, and one day I met his uncle. And we went into his house, and at that point, I was probably like 270, 280. I was a pretty husky guy, and we were in like junior high school, something like that. And apparently, his uncle, whenever he was our age, he had a best friend whose name was Turbo Ham, and they called him Turbo Ham because he was, a big guy. Yeah. And so whenever I walked in, I met his uncle Travis. He was like, "That's your Turbo Ham." So all through high school, I was called Turbo Ham. And then whenever we moved in Northwest Arkansas, Nick was like, "Dude, you're just Turbo now." He's like, you don't have the ham. You're just Turbo.
I saw a picture of you.
No more ham.
I saw a picture of you.
What was the point? Like,
Go under the camera. I gotta get a flannel.
I saw a picture of you, like when you were in high school, and man, I'm proud of you, man. It seemed because you, like I said, you lost all that weight. You look a lot different, but also looks like you've kept healthy and everything like that. So good for you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I
bet
appreciate
you feel a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, well, so like it was weird because whenever we graduated high school, I was still pretty big. I wasn't as big. I hit like a peak moment where I was like, oh, like I'm fucking.
Kind of moment. It's like I better stop.
Big old son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I like fast food a lot. But then whenever I would come back, we would come back and visit Harrison every once in a while, and people would be like, oh, like, dude, like Turbo, like, are you on drugs? Like, have you been doing drugs? And I'm like, yeah, I've been smoking lots of weed, and it's been making me not want to eat. Like, no, it was weird. It was like I don't know, it was a really weird time. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna fucking run. I'm just gonna run for a long time, and
like Forrest Gump. I just run.
So there was a time that really, really kickstarted my body to like change. It was I had a rough breakup after high school, and so there was for like about a solid month. Whenever Nick and I were living together, I would just run and eat tuna every day. Like that's all I'd eat is tuna, and I would just run and go to work. And then one day Nick like pulled me in the living room. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "You're gonna fuck yourself up if you keep doing this."
Yeah.
So then I snapped out of it, and everything was cool.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, like life too, is like, cause I lost a
You
lot.
know,
Shout out to you know who.
shout out to you know who.
Thank you for making me the person I am today.
Hey, guess. I'll tell you after the podcast, Turbo. It's something pretty funny, I think. But I can't say it on air.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, speaking of funny stories, earlier you mentioned the lyric, and I said, "Oh, I've got something about that later."
Yeah, I gotta tell you a funny story.
One and only time that we played the lyric, we had so many fucking technical difficulties.
That
on
was
stage.
for the Pride.
Yeah,
thing,
we-
right?
we-
Yeah, I
played
wasn't
for
at
the-
I was wanting to go to that, but I couldn't make it. But
We played for the Harrison Pride Fest every year because Harrison. They used to call it Diversity Week, but the only kind of diversity in Harrison is honestly like there's not that many people that aren't white in Harrison, so they just start calling it Pride Week because people that aren't like Harrison has a fucking horrible reputation thanks to Tom Robb in Zinc, Arkansas.
yeah, we played the first Pride Fest they had.
Hell yeah.
And that was interesting, the beginning of it, but I'll get into that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and we were playing the Pride Fest, and we set up. I think we just got done playing somewhere else the night before too, like Tulsa or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like fucking my amp, like one of my amps wasn't working, and then both my amps weren't working, and we figured out I just had a bum cord. But we started and stopped the first song like 3 times.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny.
Because they would go out, and I was like, "Fuck it." Once we figured everything out, I just ran one amp.
Yeah, we rolled onto one amp and then just did it like that.
Just skipped the first song and went on to the next one.
Cranked it.
You saved my ass one night. He did. We were playing at that party that at Daddy's Last Dance, and I don't know what song we were playing, but I had my little cable running into my chromatic tuner. It's got that little connector in it, and it was on the floor, and I should have taped it, but I accidentally stepped on it, and it disconnected. And I didn't know it, and I'm sitting there like, I lost all the sound. What the fuck? You know? And it's like, oh, shit. And it's like a really important part of the song. And all of a sudden, Turbo, I see him run to the front, and he sees the connect, and he just pops right in. And I'm like, thank you, Turbo. Because he's like, I told him that. He's like, I saw it right immediately when it happened. My dumbass, I'm sitting there, what the fuck? I jacked in.
So, yeah, that's the perks of Turbo being a former guitar player, is he knows how that shit works.
Yeah.
He was able to help you out. And, dude, there was one time we were playing in Wichita, Kansas, and I was like, we were on tour as the last show tour.
Oh, my God.
And, like, I didn't think anything of it. Like,
Kirby's. We were playing at Kirby's.
With Kirby's beer store.
Yeah.
I've been smoking weed all day up until that point. And, like, I'm fine. Like, I'm smoking weed all day. And the guys outside of Kirby's beer store, they're like, hey, man, you want to take a hit of our weed? And I was like, yeah. I take one hit of their weed. And I'm fucking zoinked. I'm like 10 out of 10 stoned. And we're the second band up. The first band goes on, Escape Control, our boys. Shout out Escape Control. And, yeah, they go on, and I'm like, by the time we go on, I'm like, fuck, I'm still stoned as shit. And we're like, I was really nervous. I was setting up my gear and stuff, and I was plugging in everything wrong, and I'm like, man, I hope no one's watching me right now, because this guitar is supposed to make sound, but it's not. And then once we got everything figured out, I was really nervous until we played, and then when we started with Day Awake, I was like, oh, okay, that's what we sound like. But anyways, we're the second song in the step. We're playing Footsteps, and I'm fucking going crazy, and I'm jumping around, and I'm doing shit, and I stepped on Trevor's fucking tuner pedal, and I just canceled him out. And he like he was like, what the fuck? Gave me this dirty look, like, you fucker. Like, I just killed his pet. Like, you killed my cat, but I killed his bass. It was even worse than killing a cat.
It's even worse.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, animal activists. I love kitties. I'm around kitties all the time. Fucking my girlfriend, her house, she has a cat. And I play with that cat all the time, even though I shouldn't. I'm really allergic to cats, but it's such a sweet cat. It's such a sweet pussy.
I'm enjoying petting this cat, but oh my god!
That's what happens. That's what he does, and he knows.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He knows that he's gonna get the sniffles. And he's gonna get super irritated from it, but he's like, "Oh, it's so pretty. I have to pet this kitty." Like, dude, you know what's gonna happen.
I can't say no, dude. I can't say no to a cat that's rubbing up on me and purring. Like, it wants me to touch it.
You were talking about the Pride Fest. It actually reminded me was that because you guys played the Lyric. The first year they had the Pride Fest in Harrison, my band, Three Drunks and a Driver, we played it. And halfway
we may have played with you.
What?
We may have played with you that day.
No, I think we were the only band.
Oh, really?
On there.
Okay.
But yeah, because you guys played the next year, but the first year was just us. And it's near the end of our set. It opened up a big storm. And then next year you guys played because I was there, and the same thing happened. Near the end of your set, the storm opened up, and I remember you guys had to drive me out to Guitar Smith's to get to my car that was pouring.
I remember that.
I was like, oh, God, I'm glad I got great friends because they could have been assholes. Like, hey, you can walk.
I remember that, man. I'm really glad that they told us not to talk shit to the protesters. Because all those fucking Tom Robb, KKK jackasses that live out in Zinc were out fucking protesting across the street. And I was planning on getting on the mic and just fucking ripping them a new asshole. But the people that were throwing together the fucking Pride Fest were like, don't even acknowledge that they're there.
Yeah.
The best thing we can do is just not acknowledge them.
The first year, what they did is I got there early, and they had them all set up across the road, where Minnie Harris is, and you got it where, like, T's and stuff is. They had all the rebel flags and all that kind of stuff. But the thing was, the first year they did it, this was kind of like, not national news, but it was like Arkansas KY3 kind of news. They had a news crew down there, and they started filming it and stuff like that. And so you got all the people over there, whatever. But as soon as the news crew left, and right before we started playing, when the whole thing kicked off, they left.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's why they did that. I said, because they wanted kind of the exposure on TV and stuff like that. But then when it started, they left. I'm like, I was like, that's pretty friggin' stupid. But I was like, I know exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
You're just looking for, get on TV, whatever. And it's like, oh, God.
Yeah. Well, fucking, I'm really glad they told us not to call them out, because I was going to call them out and try to fucking fist fight every one of those racist motherfuckers.
Oh, man. There's national news right there. Yeah.
You listen to me right now, brother. You step in the ring with me for 3 minutes, racist, and you're going to get 3 minutes of pain time.
Yeah. News headline, musician impales racist with explorer.
Dude, I was ready to fight to the death against those fucking racists. Honestly, one of the scariest I've ever been in Harrison, Arkansas, one of the scariest I've ever been was whenever Harrison had our Black Lives Matter protest. And I wasn't there. We were like fucking, like moving shit around. And that night, we went to our friend Lucas's house, and Lucas's roommate Tanner was like, "Hey, I heard there's like some people gathered around the square with like guns and shit." And we drove through the square on the way back to the farm, and sure as shit, dude, there was like 20 or so fucking guys waiting with like fucking AR-15s and like AKs, waiting for someone to just do a Black Lives Matter like demonstration so they can fucking who God knows what. But that was like the most fearful I'd ever been. I was for like racists in this area, because like I just think that if you bring a gun to a protest, you're like asking for trouble. Like you're asking to fucking shoot somebody. And they're not even protesting. They're just standing around the square with guns. Like they were waiting for more protesters to come. And that was a very, very dark moment for me about this town. Like this fucking it's got a really bad vibe. Never want to see that shit again.
Yeah.
All you fucking racists can fuck off. All right? The majority of people in Harrison, Arkansas probably are not racist. No. But you fucking few racists that are out there in this town making a bad rep, you could suck my dick.
Well, it didn't.
Actually, don't even suck my dick. I don't want your racist lips around it.
It didn't help. Recently, and not super recently, but like a while ago, there was a thing on. I saw it on Reddit first. It was like a video about like the most racist town in America.
Yeah.
And I watched that. I watched it a couple times, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure that if you go just about anywhere and you're a white guy holding the Black Lives Matter sign, like, I'm sure there's some people that are like gonna be shitty about it. Yes,
Some people
maybe
everywhere.
maybe there's more around here, which I don't doubt at all. But there's got to be a lot of other people that are like, hey, good job, that kind of thing. But I mean, then again, it's like we have been proclaimed this like shit territory. I remember every time we'd go to a bar in Bentonville or something, and like we'd be talking to somebody because we talked to a lot of people. And then people would be like, oh, where are you from? And be like, oh, Harrison. They'd be like, you mean the racist town? And it's like, yeah, I guess if that's what you want to call it, because that's all you fucking know. Like,
yeah, that's all you know. And that's the worst thing. Like, if you go anywhere outside in Arkansas, outside of Harrison, and you tell people you're from Harrison, they're going to assume that you're prejudiced because of the reputation this town has.
I just, because I'm from Gilbert, so I just say I'm from a
You can
small
get out of
town.
that, yeah. You're from Gilbert.
That's what I use is because, but I'm one of those is like, I just kind of, my thing is like, and you've got all this stuff going on and with everything, and I was kind of like, I kind of stay out of that because if you see me posting, it's all this music shit. It's like, goddamn, that's all you do. It's like, because man, it's just like, that's just me. It's like, I know the world is shit, and if we can all work together, we all work together as a unit and don't divide. We can divide and we can conquer all this shit. But me, it's just like, it's like I'm just like right now I'm like focused on music, so I'm just like kind of like I'm trying to. I kind of took a break from social media because of the election. And
Dude,
stuff.
the election's a shit show.
I'm just like I gotta take a break from this because it's giving me a headache.
Dude, I don't care what people's like political beliefs are, but when it comes to like race or sexuality, like you could fuck off because people are people. Like you're if someone's gay, they're gay. If they're trans, they're trans. Fucking let them live their lives.
If they want to get married, let them get married.
Yeah, and
they're happy.
And like prejudice against like skin color is even more stupid than prejudice against, like sexuality, because like people who are prejudiced against sexuality, most of them have religious backgrounds that are providing that prejudice against like certain types of sexuality. But also the same book that they're judging people on says you can't get tattoos and says you can't get married and says you can't work on Sunday. Like, are you going to treat all those people like that?
Yeah, tattoos right here, yeah.
Exactly. Like, yeah. And so...
I like that saying that people said. It was just like, it's the most nicest people you'll ever meet have tattoos, and so the most judgmental people you'll meet go to church on Sundays.
That's sometimes the case. Yeah. Sometimes the case. Yeah, I grew up going to church, and there's definitely... the majority of people at church.
Did you shred in the aisles?
Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
I'd been asked to do the fucking church band, but I didn't want to do that. Like,
hey, check this out. I've always wanted to play Jesus Is Just All Right by the Doobie Brothers.
Man, like my dream, I was a fucking...
I've always wanted to do that.
My parents probably don't know this. They probably won't watch this podcast and never know this, but I would listen to the fucking most evil shit before church every Sunday. Yeah. I would be cranking Slayer on my iPod.
You're
or
balanced
like,
out or something.
Yeah, just got to balance it out because like I don't know. I'd never been really that quite religious. Definitely like used to be a believer, and
we live in the Bible Belt.
We live in the Bible Belt, man. And honestly, like I don't think differently of anyone who is a Christian or any religion. I think that's just a religion. Yeah. But I don't particularly have one. Rock and roll is my religion. That's what I like to tell people.
And my thing is you got this whole thing about politics and stuff. And my honest opinion, when somebody asks me, because I don't go into politics, I'm like, I play music, not politics. That's just kind of my thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I do is like, because I see, me as I'm like, if you're on social media, it's like, I know there's shit going on in the world. It's like, but man, it's just like, instead of, there's people I know that are like posting all these political stuff. I'm like, show me a picture of like your dog, or if you have selfies of yourself, or like nature pictures. That's what I want to see. Like, I want to see good shit.
One of the things about social media that's really bad is that their algorithms are based on interaction and like how much you're going to react. And they figured out that, they didn't figure out, but the algorithm has basically come to that most people will interact with things that they don't agree with.
Oh,
and so people on certain sides of the political
like
aisle,
100 comments and just arguing next to one another.
Exactly. And also, you're going to get trapped in your own bubble. So if you're a liberal or if you're a conservative, most of your feed is going to be liberal or conservative.
Yeah.
And you're going to get one side or the other. And you're going to find people in your bubble that agree only your thing. So it reinforces your beliefs. When in reality, like we really we're all Team America. You know, like
we're the human race. We are all humans here.
We're the human race, but that's too progressive for some people.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? I fucking need my borders. I wouldn't want so and so from."
I was born on this soil over here.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the aliens to show up.
dude, the aliens are already here and they're among us right now. They're interdimensional.
Yeah. The salesman,
that was an Alex Jones
salesman,
quote.
They're aliens. The salesman,
Joe
you guys
Rogan.
are aliens.
I don't know, man. I dream about
You
getting
wrote a song
abducted
called
about it.
Sphere, okay?
It was about the Earth. No,
Well, kind of. I don't know. I don't remember why I call it Sphere.
it's because it like it started and then it came back to like
To the OG red.
Yeah.
What?
so it was
By the way,
fun.
what's that title? Because I heard it on my iTunes. In my mix it's spelled IGWL. Is
Oh.
it igloo?
In God We Lust.
Oh, I thought it was like
It was-
igloo or something.
In God We Lust is like a play on words because like in God We Trust. So
Yeah,
many
yeah.
people
Yeah,
fucking
what's
wave that
what's
around.
in God We Lust about?
In God We Lust is basically like the lyrics are I'm a psycho, an original, an intellectual, delusional. That's the first verse, and
That's a cool line.
yeah, well, basically it's like what I would imagine what my parents would think of me if they knew that I didn't like 100% believe in the Bible.
Mm.
Like you know, he's a psycho, but he's original and he's intellectual, but he's also delusional because like they think I'm, my parents think that I'm smart. At least I think they do. I don't know. I don't think that I'm smart. But I'm a musician. I don't really think I'm smart. I think I just do things. But
How's that music out there working out for you?
yeah. Every time I go eat dinner at my mom's house, they're like, "When are you gonna get a real job?" I'm like, "Never." No, I'm gonna play music.
Yeah.
But and God We Lust is like, and then I say what we trust. In God We Lust, like, it's like the area that we're from the Bible Belt, and everyone is so obsessed with God, it's almost like a lust.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that came from.
Well, I learned quickly it's because with so much churches is because you'll have someone that will be preaching what their interpretation of the gospel is, and then somebody in the crowd's like, I don't agree with that. That's not what I think. Let me start my own church.
Yep.
So then you start seeing that. So like I can go from my hometown of Gilbert and come up into Harrison. And I can probably there's like 40 churches. It's
Oh,
like
yeah, no
every
shit.
couple miles, it's like there's like two across the street from each other.
Yeah, and that's one of the most interesting things about Christianity is that Christianity has so many denominations and different churches.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's also weird because they're like all going from the same book, and they're like, I like that part, but I don't like this part. Nah.
Let's take that part out. Let's make another one.
It's been rewritten so many times that it's like, what does it really truly mean?
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
somebody wrote it in their own perspective, what they think it is.
Yeah, like I could, my opinion, if there is a God and a heaven and a hell, it doesn't matter what your sexuality is or, what you're doing. As long as you're a good person, you don't hurt people, you treat others the way you want to be treated, and you're a nice, generous person. If there is a heaven, I would like to think you'd make it into heaven, even if you didn't believe in God, because you were a good enough person on his earth. That's kind of
people need to remember the golden rule.
Yeah.
Treat others as the way you want to be treated.
Honestly, if God is the type of guy that will throw me into a fiery pit for eternity because I wanted evidence of his existence.
What an asshole.
What an asshole. Yeah, I would fucking like to give him my 2 cents.
What a selfish person to be able to be like, oh, well.
He's a jealous guy.
You don't get on your knees and pray to me? Like, well, you're going to burn for forever. It's like, who are you to do that?
I hope he plays guitar.
Yeah, and dude, and I have no.
I'm the one that wrote "Stairway to Heaven."
What's the Adam Sandler movie?
Little Nicky, dude.
Little
That's
Nicky,
like his best. I need to show my girlfriend that movie still. But like, I have no disrespect for anyone who's a Christian or a Muslim or Buddhist or anything like that. I have no disrespect. Religion is religion, and strangely enough, religion has a lot to do with your geographical location. Like, if we all were in India right now, we'd be talking about Hinduism the same way that I'm talking about Christianity. Because Hinduism is the primary, religion of India. At least I think it is. I don't know. I'm not that educated.
I think Buddhism's pretty cool.
Buddhism's pretty cool because Buddhism, they have, 2 denominations from what I understand. One where they believe Buddha was a god and the other where they don't.
Right, but it's like the culture, like the moral aspect of like the golden rule type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like that's what it's mainly focused
Yeah.
on. I think that's where
Buddhism is really cool,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot that you can learn from Christianity and Judaism and Islam.
You
and
can learn probably a
all those
lot from a lot of
religions.
religions. Yeah.
I love, like, while I say I'm like not a religious guy, I love reading about religion. We have a new song, a new song. We have a song on our new album that's like about separation of church and state, loosely. And I have a lot of religious references in there because I grew up learning Bible stories and shit like that. And I like to.
There's a song called "In the Name of God" by Dream Theater that the guitar player wrote, and he kind of wrote that about how wars men have fought over religion. And what I thought was cool is he actually threw in, kind of telling the story of the Waco incident in '93 with David Koresh. We had the Branch Davidians, how they burned that place down because it's all that kind of stuff. If you know about that, if not, research it. But yeah, it's like tying that in and kind of stuff like that. Like, yeah, wars have been fought with religion and stuff like that and everything like that. So it's an interesting concept. Me, I was raised as a Baptist, and Christian and stuff.
Yeah.
And me personally, it was one of those things. Is I remember as a kid that I thought if I didn't go to church that I'd get in trouble or something. But when I got older, I'm like, you know what? I said, I believe there's a God because I've almost died twice. And I'm like, he must be keeping me on this planet for something. I guess it's to present great, awesome new music like this. But
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm just like, but I don't have to go to church every Sunday to worship him and stuff like that. And I worship in my own kind of way,
Yeah.
There's actually scripture about that, right? Where you don't, in the Bible, where like talking about how like the guy who goes to church and brags about going to church and all this stuff is worse off than the guy who doesn't go to church but still like thoroughly believes in God. Like there's stuff in the Bible about that, and I agree wholeheartedly. Like a person of faith shouldn't have to go to a certain location to prove their faith.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, actions are more than words. Kind of thing like this. Your action determine like what kind of person you are and kind of stuff like that. So actions speak louder than words. That's what I'm trying to say.
They absolutely do, man. And I think a lot of religious foundations are very good about doing actions that help their community and help those around them. And I
march to the beat of your own drum.
Exactly.
Nocturnal march. Another one.
Fun fact. You know what Nocturnal March is about?
That's more like sleepwalking.
No, Nocturnal March. The lyrics were like for the chorus. It was written in the clouds as the smoke fills the air. The dead will scream aloud. Nocturnal march of despair. That song is literally about me staying up all night by myself, getting stoned as shit.
Smoking weed.
That needs to make it back in the set list.
Maybe it will, man. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
I
don't know what the future
tease me
holds.
with that riff.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's cool double bass with it too, and like it's a fun riff to play, a fun song. But in reality, our old bass player Colton wrote. He wrote the intro, and he wrote the one of the. He wrote the intro. He wrote the verse riff, and he wrote the riff after the solo. And I don't know, like I just don't want to. I
got you, yeah.
Like I don't want to use his shit as much. Like we play songs that he helped us write, but he didn't write like the whole song. He wrote a lot of that. Except I wrote the marching riff, the da-na-na, 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 da-na-na. I wrote that riff, but he wrote a lot of that. And I don't know, like it's his stuff. Maybe I'll talk with him sometime and be like, hey, can we still use that song? But I don't know. We've not played that song in so long. If we ever did play it, it would just be for you, Sean.
Yes.
There you go.
If anything, maybe we'll recycle that riff, the marching riff, and use it in another song.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we could.
Okay, so
Sick-ass
I'll ask you a question. Okay, so on yours, how did you become you said you were a guitar player first. What made you go to the drums? Like, was it something like everyone was a guitar player and it's like, fuck it, I'm going to be a drummer?
That's
Pretty
really
much.
what it was.
We lost our first drummer.
Yeah, I in 6th grade, I joined the band, like the school band, and I was lucky enough to because apparently to play percussion, well, in Harrison at least, it's like everybody had to take a test on music, and then they would take like the top 15%, and they would be like, okay, you can try out for drums if you want to. And it's like that was the only instrument that I really wanted to play because I couldn't play guitar. Because I was playing guitar before I started playing drums. And so I was like, well, I'd rather play drums because that's like the closest thing that I would appreciate playing. And so I got to play percussion, and then so I always had the rudimentary, like the background and stuff, but I was so dead set on playing guitar all the time. And then Eli Barrett, who is an outstanding drummer, shout out to Eli Barrett.
He's a White Mansion, right?
Yeah, for White Mansion.
Yeah. And then he went out of what we were Death of the Salesman.
We were Death of the Salesman. He left Death of the Salesman
hardcore.
to pursue other music things, which I don't blame him.
Not really good for him. Yeah.
Well, White Mansion's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, White Mansion's a sick band.
Yeah. And then so we were in this like kind of like purgatory state of like we were trying to still advance with the people that we had, and it turned into like this thing of like we found guitar players left and right, but we didn't find any drummers. And I was like, shit, like I know how to do a paradiddle, like if I could just subdivide my 4 limbs into doing something differently, then work on it. So yeah, and then I started playing drums, and now that I play drums, I really do. Sometimes I miss playing guitar on stage, but drums are where it's at.
Yeah, you're very animated. That's what I always enjoy. Like you two, like it's funny because I remember seeing you with Colton. He was kind of animated too, and it's kind of a trendy because Trevor, he's kind of like boom.
He's a little stiff still.
You hear that, Trevor?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like you guys make up for it because
grease up the hinges.
Yeah, you guys really animated together. And you know what the thing is that kind of falls out like with my drummer Skip when he was a bass player. He was that same way. He stood in one spot and didn't really move. And he actually was a guitar player and a bass player for years. And when we started playing music, he just started playing drums. And that's what I think I always tell him. I'm like, dude, I said, that's what's helped you out is that you were a guitar player and a bass player for a long time. And so you understand the rhythmic quality of it, so what to do. So I think that's kind of, it helps if you learn on like a guitar or a bass like that. Because when you go to the drums, it's like you play differently than anybody else. Because like, okay, I can understand the rhythmic quality of it. Now, to you, when did you start playing guitar?
Well, so I got my first guitar. I'd like to say I was like 9 or 10. It was Christmas. I'd asked for a guitar, and my parents got me like this Ibanez guitar starter pack. Still have my first guitar in there.
Still on the back.
Yeah, in the other room. And I remember like the first day I had my guitar, I'm just like fucking strumming it. I got it plugged in my amp. I'm just like trying to make noises. And a few months later, my parents got me guitar lessons at Guitar Smith's. Jim Smith
Same here.
took lessons from Jim Smith for about a year. After about a year, I kind of understood like picking techniques and
how to read tablature,
and basic shit like that. And my parents were like, hey, let's save some money. You can basically learn on your own. So they canceled my learning, and I just kind of been off from there. And a lot of my learning process, like a lot of learning for any musician, it doesn't matter if you are very advanced or a beginner. I think learning other people's songs is a very good like stepping stone, and learning new techniques and learning different things.
Most bands you start in are cover bands.
Yeah, and we did a lot of covers when we were starting out. Like our first.
How did you two meet? Like, were you guys buddies in high school before you started playing music?
Well,
it's like
in junior high we weren't. I mean, we
it was into 7th grade.
Yeah.
So we were. Me and Turbo go way back. It's kind of weird because in 5th grade, me and him were both, or like the summer going into our 5th grade, we were both in the youth center like summer camp thing. It wasn't a summer camp, but your parents dropped you off there every day instead of going to school, basically.
Yeah, it's because you didn't have like a babysitter. Or anything,
yeah.
So.
You don't want to deal with your shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't be home alone because you'll burn it down.
I was like very new to guitar, and Turbo was very new to guitar. And at the end of the year, they had a talent show, and me and Turbo played the only fucking song I knew all the way through, which was a country song by Kenny Chesney. Can't tell you the name. And
I don't remember.
But we played it, and from then on, we really didn't talk to each other. And my mom, and me and my mom, and Turbo and his mom, we'd run into each other in town
often,
all the time.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like every time we were in town, we'd run into them. It was like the universe trying to pull us together. But by the time like near the end of 7th grade, I'm in Miss fucking I think it's Miss Reading's class, and Eli Barrett's sitting in front of me, and me and him are friends at that point because we both like Metallica in 7th grade. Like we're the only he's one of the only people I know in 7th grade who likes Metallica like me in this small rinky dink fucking Hee Haw, Harrisontown.
Hee haw.
And he's like, hey, man. He's like, Trenton Stewart's 13th birthday's coming up, and we're gonna jam, and we're gonna play Guitar Hero, but we're gonna jam at the end of it. I was like, holy shit! Like, I could play guitar. Like, do you guys want to jam? And he was like, yeah, man. Like, I'll ask Trent if you can come. And sure shit, I come to Turbo's 13th birthday party. Have a Guitar Hero tournament in the basement. It was badass. Sam James won because he's sick Guitar Hero.
Crazy.
Yeah. And we go up into the garage upstairs, and they're like jamming, and I set my shit up, and I played Thunderstruck, and at the time we're like fucking 13, and like that was it. Like I played Thunderstruck, and they're like, you're in. And then that's it, man. That's when me and Turbo first started playing together. We were 13. We're 24 now. 11 years.
What's fun is I like to go on to.
You don't have a beer? Get a
No,
beer.
I gotta
dude.
go.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I'm a lame ass. I'll go with the water.
Cheers.
Yeah.
I need a beer.
What I like to do is I like to go on YouTube and I like to listen to your old demos. Like the one that pops in my head is "Crusade the Night."
Yeah, that was some cool shit.
Yeah.
That was back when Kylan was in the band, and Kylan is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like Randy Rhoads incarnate. Like,
what's funny is that I told Kylan this story. Sorry, Kylan. Is that I was in my apartment at the Lynx, and Tyler Burl, I think was his last name. Burley, yeah. He lived next to me. And I was in my apartment one late night, it's Friday night, Saturday, and I've got my Ibanez and I've got my Marshall cranked, and I'm just ripping and stuff like that. And luckily enough, people realized I was a great guitar player where they didn't give me noise complaints like, you sound good, man. We like to listen to you. And I got this knock on the door, and this is probably 11 or midnight or whatever, and it's Kylan. I didn't know who he was, but he had short hair. He goes, dude, that was awesome. I was like, oh, thanks, man. And then we started talking music or whatever, and he had been drinking. And then a few of his friends, a few of his friends grabbed him. It's like Kylan, and I'm like, what the fuck? I said, no. I said, he's a musician. He knows what he's talking about. We're like, yeah, sorry, man. I'm like, dude, I thought it was the cops or something. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, he just random knock on the door. There's Kylan. It's like, dude, that's awesome, man. And we just started talking music. And that was like the first time I met him. So every time I see him,
that's cool.
It was like, that's the first time I met you. It was got a knock on my door like at midnight, and there you are.
Man, I mean, Kylan was a fucking prodigy when we were kids. He was insane.
Totally reminded me when I first heard him. I was like, Dimebag meets Zach.
Yeah.
And then he played in White Fox Kill, and I'm friends with Shane.
He was too heavy for them.
Yeah, Shane Quinzer and I, we go way back because we went to school together, and I've known him all my life. I like White Fox Kill and what he does, but I remember when Kylan joined the band, and I kind of knew who Kylan was, and I'm like sitting there like, man, White Fox Kill is awesome and stuff like that. So, but Kylan's kind of like in the wrong band because like it's kind of like the kind of Western country rock kind of thing, and then he's doing the shredding leads over it. I'm like, it's like it almost doesn't fit in a way.
Dude, yeah.
But then we got Sound Pilot. I told Curtis
That's
you scored on that one. I said, I said he found his home.
Dude, that's Kylan and Sound Pilot. That's so good. That's the perfect lineup. It's Kylan and Sound Pilot with
that
guys.
That was a good show we played. It's always funny because when I first saw Sound Pilot, I just immediately, for some reason, during the middle of the set when they paused, I'm like, Sound Pilot rules. and now it's a thing that's happened where they know who it is. So every show, if I'm in a Sound Pilot show, I'm going to say that, but they don't know when I'm going to say it. And then the last gig we did, I did that. I screamed it, and then Curtis and them, they know who it is. They're like, "Thanks, Sean," because they know it's me. I'm like, yeah. I said, but you don't know when it's coming. But I gotta get one for Salesman. I gotta get something different. Not that, I'm trying to. I'll think of one.
Think of something cool, man.
Yeah, but every time it's like Sound Pilot rules. That's Sean again,
dude. Like, I don't know when we're gonna go. We're gonna go back on stage in 2021, hopefully.
I think we will, but I think it might be like spring or summer.
Yeah, we got invited to play a New Year's Eve show in Fayetteville, but at first I was like, yeah, let's do it because they talked to me about it in the summer, and now there's like a second wave of COVID going through, and literally two people I know have died this week from COVID. I'm like, I don't know if we should do this show.
January or something. I feel like we're gonna go on another lockdown again for maybe like a month or two.
People have been talking about.
It's a possibility. Whenever Joe Biden takes office, it's a possibility that he's gonna. I think
it'll be
down.
like a 2-month kind of thing.
Oof.
Holy shit.
That wouldn't.
I think by spring to summer,
scary.
I think it'll hopefully let up to where everything kind of opens back up. But then by then, it's like the economy, and then the thing with the stages, like George is all these places, like, you know, they're all hurting, and you got all these big artists that are like, you know, they're
hurting
not
too.
Really
the thing is the demand for live music is very high, and the supply is low.
Once this all goes away, hopefully if it does, man, the market's going to be flooded with live shows like crazy.
My big fear is that the supply. My fear is all these bands are wanting to play, and the supply may overcome the demand for live music when it comes back.
Yeah,
because these artists are really hungry to be playing.
And ticket prices and stuff.
Dude,
they're gonna go up.
Fuck Ticketmaster.
No,
fuck Live Nation. Fuck all that shit because
bathroom?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
So
I've been sitting here like 4 hours and I'm pissed.
Go open that door. Take a left down the hall to the right.
Okay. All right. Just walk into a random room. Like, this is not the bathroom.
You'll see it.
Fuck, I gotta pee too though.
It's all right. When he gets back, you go pee.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to be the only one on camera during this time, man.
Just talk to yourself.
Just talk to myself. I could do it, I guess, but we're pretty far along in this. 2 hours and 39 minutes so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty goddamn good. That's
pretty goddamn good.
I would say we're pretty decent at this whole podcast length thing. I don't know about quality, but we got the length down.
I think sound-wise is pretty good.
Sound-wise is good, man. I would like to think that we're getting better on the topics that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And shit like that. But when I go back and listen to it, like when I'm editing our podcast, I fucking hate my voice.
Just don't think about it.
I know. That's all you can do. Same story whenever we're doing recordings. I'm like, fuck. God, man, if only we were an instrumental group. But instrumental groups, man, they can only get so far.
People
sometimes.
like the vocals.
People like the words. I would like to think that our vocals have really tightened up for this new album.
I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we worked on it quite a bit. I know we worked on it quite a bit. I think it's gonna pay off though.
Like how you got your set lists on the wall out there.
Yeah, those are old classic set lists that Turbo's mom has saved, and one of those posters you were talking about of us playing at Yugo's is probably out there too.
Yeah. Just in smaller form.
Smaller form. Man, did you ever meet Austin Sanders from Snake Fighter, their lead guitar player?
I didn't, but I heard about him. And
yeah, dude, that was one of the saddest things I heard.
I heard it was really good, and also our engineer
Rest in
Greg
peace, Austin.
Yeah, our engineer Greg Roller. He actually he did a Snake Fighter album.
Dude,
it's one of their last ones. Yeah.
I wonder if it was Bring the Thunder. Was it Bring the Thunder?
It was the one I think that has like the galaxy and it has.
That was their last album.
I think he did, but Greg told me a story because he mentioned that to me when we were doing the mix on this. He said, "Did you know him?" I said, "No, but I heard about him." He said, "I'll never forget." He said, "We were in the studio and they had this space song or whatever." He said he got all the guys in the control room and they were all like pew 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 pew. They put it in a song. He goes, it was weird. He's like, it's quite a quirky.
Dude, whenever Turbo and I were 14 or so, 13, 14, at the time Snake Fighter was known for Quest for Fire. They named after the Iron Maiden song.
Oh, that's a great song.
Anyways, they were known as Quest for Fire, and I remember seeing something on MySpace back in the MySpace days.
Oh God,
that they were going to be playing, and they were going to be playing at Uncommon Grounds back when whatever restaurant is Uncommon Ground used to be Uncommon Grounds coffee shop.
Primos or something. I think.
Yeah, Primos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be Uncommon Grounds, now it's Primos, but they were playing there, and me and Turbo, we got a ride from one of our parents down there to go see them, and we were blown away. I mean, Austin's stage presence as a lead guitar player, that was our first visuals and hearing live of a real live guitar hero. His leads were insane. His stage presence was insane. And whenever they played the song Fight of the Phoenix, he would jump on top of the fucking counter of Uncommon Grounds and play a guitar solo behind his back on top of the counter of this coffee shop. And that was the most rock and roll thing we'd ever seen. And whenever they changed their name to Snake Fighter, we had started playing shows with them. We maybe even started playing with them when they were Quest for Fire, but we had been playing with them for a minute. And I remember that we went to go see them in Branson one night, and we saw their set. They were playing with a bunch of other bands, and when they got done with their set, Austin invited Turbo and I backstage, and we're 16, and fucking smoked weed with the first time back there with those guys. Turbo had smoked weed like a weed prior. He beat me to the punch. But
we bought weed for the first time.
Yeah,
you gotta get ready and get right under me. Yeah,
we bought weed from the drummer of Venus of Willendorf. I don't remember your name off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but we didn't even buy it off you. We bought it off your guy who came to meet us there. And anyways, while we're there, Austin from Snake Fighter, rest in peace. Austin was he was like looking at the wall and he's like, I bet you I could kick a hole in that wall. And everyone was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, okay, whatever. So everyone goes back to like hanging out, communicating, like talking, having conversation and partying. The next thing you know, Austin's running from the other end of the room and he fucking full on just like jumps up in the air, double drop kicks it, both of his feet. He just kicks it and there's a hole in the wall like that big. And he's like, I'm going to go take a piss, guys. And he leaves the room. And then one of the people from the venue come in. They're like, smells like weed back here. You guys smoking weed? And why is there a hole in the wall? And we're all like, oh, it smelled like weed when we got here. And the hole has been here since we got here. And then Austin comes around and he's like, guys, who kicked a hole in the wall? He's like, there was not a hole when I left.
No, it was like the singer from another band.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was a female singer. It was a girl singer from the other band that was playing. They just got off stage. That's right.
Yeah.
And like Austin played it off like a fucking champion, pretending like he did not kick a hole in the wall. Long story short, the venue found out that he did it. No more metal bands were allowed to book there ever again.
Yeah. But it was awesome.
Austin,
it was
you
so,
ruined it for
like
everyone, man.
that was one of the most rock and roll things that we'd ever seen.
I didn't know him, but like I said, it sounded like he was like very well known. It was respected, and also I saw a friend of mine went to his funeral, and like it was in Branson in one of the theaters, and I was like, wow,
It's very well known.
yeah.
Honestly, like whenever he died, I went back and listened to the Snake Fighter discography.
I listened to some of it too because I kind of heard his name, and I think he posted it. And I'm like, I gotta listen to this.
And dude, like in all honesty, like whenever I heard Austin's leads and his riffs and his guitar
You
playing,
kind of got.
I was like, damn, like I have subconsciously like
His spirit is with you now.
like yeah, like I fucking like have been writing like him and like not ripping him off by any means, but like a lot of riffs I do and a lot of leads I do have come from his inspiration, from how he inspired me when I was a young teenager. Like it's bled through my guitar playing, and I was like, wow, like he has really impacted my life more than I thought. And he was a great friend, great pal.
It's sometimes a shame when somebody passes away that you realize that after. It's like,
I'm just glad the last time that we played with Snake Fighter, Turbo and I had a jam session with Austin after that show. We just fucking me and us and Snake Fighter, we played at this place in Springfield. Can't tell you the name, I don't remember. But there was a band playing before us all that was like a blues band. Had a huge crowd. They had a really great reaction, and then we went on and played our metal, and they went on and played their metal. Yeah, everybody left. And there was still time left on our bill. So like me and Turbo and Austin all got on stage. I played Austin's guitar, which was a dream come true.
He played the bass.
Yeah, he played the bass and Turbo played drums, and we just jammed. We just improvised on stage, and I was so glad to have that moment.
That's cool.
It's kind of, I feel bad, but Austin invited us to play a gig before he died. He was like, hey man, you guys want to play? We're throwing a Halloween party somewhere, and we were booked in Fayetteville that night. And so I was like, nah man, we can't. We're playing in Fayetteville. But now if I knew what was gonna happen, I would have fucking taken that gig with Austin a million times over. Like I love the Halloween fest that we had in Fayetteville, but I mean Austin was such an influential person to me and to Turbo as well. I think that like we would have loved to do it if we knew that he was going to pass. But that's just how fucking life is. You know,
and that's one thing I always tell people. Like, some of them were like, man, you could chunk it. You're throwing this stuff out left and right. Like, you're coming out with all this stuff. And it's like, well, because you know what? I'm not getting any younger. And it's just like, you never know. Something may happen and, you know, it ends. But it's like, hey, I've left something behind for people to enjoy. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah. And
sometimes, you know, because then there's times I've met people, it's like they waited too long. And it's like, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, kind of thing.
In my opinion, Austin Sanders is one of the greatest guitar players that's ever lived.
It's interesting.
Up there with Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Is it because I heard like how good he was and stuff, and I'm like, hell, I said, I may have met him in passing, but it's just like I was a guitar player because when you're a guitar player in a small town or whatever, you kind of you know who it is, and it's like then you know all the other guitar players. I'm like, damn, I don't think I. The only time I remember Uncommon Grounds, I was a DJ for Harrison's Rock Station, 96.1 KCWD.
No longer a rock station.
Yes, you know what? I was there the night that happened.
Wow.
But I worked there from August of 2008 to February of 2013. And I went up there because what they needed was I was in college, and I needed a weekend job, and they needed a guy that did Goblin football games, like in the studio with the board, queuing up the commercials, bringing them back, and all that stuff.
Nice.
So I did that, but I really wanted to DJ, and that was when it was rock, where they like don't touch the new rock they're playing, like Avenged Sevenfold and all the new stuff coming out, but the old school stuff, whatever they were playing as well, and I just was like, man, I'll come up here for free on Fridays and Saturday nights if someone will just teach me how to do the board and DJ and stuff and everything. And I did that for a long time. Once I learned how to do that, I actually was a radio DJ, and I was doing it for free. I was going up on Friday and Saturday nights for 2 hours having my own rock show, and I had my friends were calling me drunk off their asses, like, play some AC/DC, all that stuff. It's like there was a flashing light on the phone, and I knew it was my buddies calling me drunk. It was like a cue, 10 o'clock or 10:30, flashing light. Oh, here they come. Like, hey, Joe, what's up? I'm getting drunk as hell, dude. It's like, you sound weird. You got a face for radio, dude. And it's like, oh, thank you. But, yeah, I did that for free. And then finally, like, yeah, we'll pay you. And they're like, don't touch the new rock stuff, but do whatever you want with the old school. So I started throwing in deep cuts, like Dio and stuff. I almost got to get in some Iron Maiden there, and then that's when they switched it. And I was like, shit. And I was there the night they switched it. They went to satellite. It was like midnight, and I think the last song they played was like Guns N' Roses or something. All of a sudden they hit that and went to satellite, and then ABBA came on. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
No. But back to the Uncommon Grounds thing was that when I was a DJ, they had me go out there because they had a show where it was this band called Shackle out of Little Rock that had this one-hit song that was breaking in Little Rock. I don't think they became really anything. But it was a good song. And the other band, I don't know if Snakefire played, but I know there was a band called Death May Die.
Oh yeah,
that played
Springfield.
there.
Those guys are
and
awesome.
I had to, and I DJ'd that whole thing that night. You know what? Snake Fighter may have, but I know Death May Die was there, and then that band Shackle. But on the whole thing, Austin thing is that I don't think I've ever met him, but it's like with everyone talking about him, I was like, hell, I might have ran into him and just didn't know it. But it was sad, and I heard what had happened and stuff like that. But yeah, Greg that did all this. They did an album with him, and he just remembered. He's like, we were in the studio, and he's like, we were doing this song, and he said Austin got all the band members in the vocal booth and started going pew pew pew. They put it in the song, like kind of hidden it in there. I'm like, but yeah, and that was a shame and stuff. But that's one of the things. Like I said, we don't get any younger, so it's like get it out. And plus technology, it's like technology nowadays. You can do that. Like I talked to my dad and his buddies, whatever. Like, man, we wish we could have come an album, but different things back then. But it's like we've got the technology and you got the time now. It's just like, man, get it out there, share it with the world, because like I said, I'm getting older, so it's just like I can just like, hey, check it out. If I have kids or grandkids or whatever, it's like, hey, check out what your dad sounded like. Dad, you suck. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, listen to your electronic fart music.
Oh man, it's kind of crazy how kids nowadays don't even fucking know who Led Zeppelin is.
Oh God, yeah.
Doesn't that grind your gears?
Yeah. Yeah, Peter. You know what really grinds my gears? No. And also too, but the benefactor, I guess, with technology is that with that now is that when I was playing guitar, I started in 2003. I was 13. There's no YouTube.
Yeah.
And like you, I took lessons with Jim Smith for a year.
He's the man.
And then my dad's been playing since the 80s. So after a year, he's like, okay, you learned your basics for a year, and let me teach you. And he was self-taught, so he didn't know music theory or anything. So that's why I kind of don't. But he taught me, and I started learning and stuff. And then eventually, I was getting a lot better. And he's like, okay, dude, you're on your own now because I could see you're progressing. And the good thing about it is I played acoustic for the first 3 years of my guitar playing. My dad did not want me to touch the electric because he knew a guy that didn't know how to play rhythm, that just played lead, like Joe Satriani, like no rhythm, lead everywhere.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no. He says, you're playing acoustic, and I didn't touch a guitar for electric for 3 years.
Very good
So
technique.
I learned my rhythm kind of stuff. So that was helpful, and he kind of just taught me stuff and everything, and then I went in my own kind of direction kind of
Hell
thing.
yeah.
But nowadays, you can go on YouTube, and you can learn stuff. Like, I've even done that. Like, I did a cover of the Pink Floyd Time Solo, and I'm like, I can learn it by ear to a certain extent, but there's a few things I'm like, let's go to YouTube. How does it do that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, watching somebody do it makes it a lot
Tablature
easier.
books. That's what I remember because I told him Mel Bay book. I got a Mel Bay book, and then before YouTube, they had Guitar Player magazines, Guitar One, Guitar Player, Guitar World, and they'd have the tabs on the songs. And like I remember, I got a Rush one, and it had the Trees, La Via Strangiato, and I'm sitting there reading the tabs, and I'm learning it by that. And then once YouTube came out, I was a little pretty decent. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can here's a video of Eddie Van Halen kind of doing that. Oh, that's what he's doing kind of thing. But nowadays, they can absorb that like a sponge. Like, they've got all this stuff where, we had to learn by ear.
Yeah, one of the perks of the modern world.
Yeah.
Fucking.
But you got, like, Rocksmith and then Guitar Hero. The only thing we were talking about, you turned into a drummer, was, and Michael Anthony from Van Halen said this in Sammy Hagar's book, is that everyone's supposed to be a guitar player or a drummer. So that's really a good time where it's like, sneak in and I'm going to be a bass player.
Right.
Because there you go. You could be in like 5 or 6 bands at one time.
Yeah.
It's like, because no one plays, they all play guitar and drums and bass. We all need a bass player.
That's how we got Colton to play bass for us, because Colton was a drummer and a guitar player. And we're like, perfect, dude. We need a bass player. And you know rhythm and you know how to play guitar. So,
yeah.
Well,
and bass is fun. I mean, doing this EP here and the first one, I loved it. It was so much fun. And I've said this, is that, if I wasn't a guitar player, I probably would have gravitated toward the bass. And if there was a band that had like 2 guitar players, like Adrian Smith and Dave Murray or Glenn Tipton and KK, that were so interlocked with each other and really gelled well, and they're like, we're looking for a bass player, I'd be like, I'll try out for you. I wouldn't mind it.
Bass is a lot of fun. Like, I don't write a lot of riffs, but I definitely write some riffs on the bass. Like, I don't know if you heard the Man, the Myth. I mean, you were talking about it. You have heard the Man, the Myth, the Legend on our last album.
Yeah, the hidden track.
The hidden track.
That's the best track.
I actually played bass on that song because we had at that point we had parted ways with Colton, and we were integrating Trevor into our band, but Trevor didn't know the tracks, and we needed to get it done for our engineer to mix and master it. So I recorded the bass. And so I wrote and recorded the bass for that song, and it was so much fun. And it was some of my favorite bass lines in our last album was the ones I did, not trying to toot my own horn.
Yeah.
But it was I thought I did a decent job. I had fun doing it, at least.
I'm a pretty decent looking kitty over there.
At the very least, I had fun doing it. Like, I thought it came out good. I'm proud of what I did on the bass.
Bass is fun. I mean, on Storm the Gate, there's a bass solo. I was like thinking, I could throw a bass solo on that. That's kind of cool.
Hell yeah.
And it's fun. And when you go to a live gig, what are the 2 things you hear outside the venue? Bass and drums. There you go. But yeah, I was always thinking, if there was like a band, like it was like a 2 guitars and a drummer and whatever singer, and they're like, we're looking for a bass player. I'm like, I'll audition. It wouldn't hurt my feelings. Well, I wouldn't call it a demotion. I say because if there's 2 guitar players that are better than me, then it's like I know I'm like, these guys are gelling well together, and if I can compliment them on the bass, I said I wouldn't mind that.
Dude, bass is the backbone of your song, and we got so lucky with Trevor because Trevor understands.
The first song Trevor's done is Mike Tyson, right? The new recording. Did he do
that? Was the first song that we've released that he's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear his bass work on it.
Dude, his bass work on our new album is out of this world. Like, he's done such a good job, and I try to write at least one or so, one or more parts of each album will have a part where you can like kind of do a bass solo, like do your own thing, like And he has that during one of our songs of our new album called She-Wolf. He has a part where he kind of just...
She-Wolf?
Yeah. It's called...
Megadeth?
No, not She-Wolf. I'm sorry.
She-Bear.
She-Bear. I'm drunk.
Okay.
It's called She-Bear.
I started hearing Megadeth.
She-Wolf is
like,
a Megadeth song.
David
Yeah.
Staine's
I'm
be
drunk.
Like,
Sorry,
Calling
Dave.
you.
But it's called She Bear. That's the separation of church and state song I was telling you about. But he has a part during the bridge where I like when we wrote it, I was like, just fucking make it sound badass. Do a bass solo. And I tell Trevor do whatever he wants anyways for songs. Like Trevor and Turbo, like most of the time we're writing a song, I'll come up with some riffs and a loose structure, and I'm like, do whatever you want. And occasionally we'll have input. Like sometimes I'm like, Trevor, you please have to try this bass part that I wrote. Or I'm like, Turbo, maybe go bam bam. And Trevor will have the same kind of input. But we all do our own thing for songs. Like, what? I'll write like some structure for it. But at the end of the day, like the guys, Turbo and Trevor, they're writing their own parts to their songs. Like they're adding their own spices because it wouldn't be the Salesman without it. Like I can't write Salesman songs without Trevor and Turbo, and they need to do their own shit. I don't want Trevor to play what I'm playing. I'll show him what I'm playing. I'm like, okay, right here I'm playing A, and then I'm going to F sharp, and then I'm going to this or whatever, and he'll go and fucking make his own shit out of it. And Turbo's, as a drummer, he like does his own shit anyways. Like he's a drummer. That's what
I don't know
drummers
what
do.
you're playing back there. It's just weird.
Drums, notes are hard. Drums are forever. But yeah, man. I mean, this is how we roll. But Sean, dude, it's been like damn near 3 hours, man.
Yeah, damn. Well, and plus, with quarantine and stuff, I'm stuck at home working from home, and I don't get anybody to talk to, so I'm kind of a little long-winded at times. Yeah.
No, man, that's totally fine. I mean, like, that's what podcasts are for, to be long-winded, tell stories.
Yeah. By the way, have you guys tried DMTs? No. Take that off. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. Yeah.
No, I've not tried DMT, but if any of my friends out there who have DMT will let me try it, I will try DMT
I'll bust
with you.
in the room like Alex Jones, like, it's the aliens did it.
I think the aliens did do it, and I would do DMT. Just hit me up, friends, if you have DMT and you want your boy Nick Flippo to try DMT. Hit me up. I will fucking do DMT with you. But yeah, man. So here, let's end this thing. It's 3 hours.
Man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I knew when I heard about the podcast, you starting this, I'm like, okay, I got to be a part of that
absolutely. And this won't be your last time on.
Yeah,
dude.
it was like a podcast, like the podcast when we were talking out there at the gig at the park. Me and you were just talking like all night.
If we recorded it, could have made a good ass podcast.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
So all those out there watching, check out Sean Bing's sequel EP. It's a follow-up to his original solo EP. And also check out Leadfoot 65. Look them up on Facebook, guys.
iTunes, Spotify, we're everywhere.
All streaming services.
Check out The Salesman. Check out The Salesman. They are on iTunes, Bandcamp. They got their new album they've been working on very hard, and I've heard stuff from it, and it is freaking awesome. Can't wait for it. Check out Sound Pilot. Check out Southern Confession. Check out Shane Quinzer and White Fox Kill. Jag Nasty. Check out all local artists. That's what we're here for. We love making music and sharing it to the world. Help support us if you can, like our band pages. Buy our merchandise, our CDs, T-shirts, whatever. Do all you can, because at the end of the day, music makes the world go round, and this world needs to keep going round, because if it doesn't, we're all dead.
That's right.
That's perfect. We'll end on that.
All right.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Have a good night.